Nuggets in the championship. And the Nashville Sounds took down the Iowa Cubs 13-2 last night in a hit parade. They'll be back in action tonight at 6:20 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. You're listening to 102.5.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gun performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Chase, get out of here. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Willy Donick is a baseball dad today, so just me and D-Mase hanging out with y'all. D-Mase.
What's going on?
How we doing?
It's a beautiful day out here.
It's a beautiful day, and it is great to be alive.
Absolutely. I told co-worker Nick that, hey, once I put my 2 feet on the ground, it's a good day.
Coworker Nick.
You sound like Mr. Rogers this morning. You got to chill.
What did I tell you? I said, listen, you have two, there's when you wake up, you got two C's. Two C's.
Wait. Am I not going to get to share my lesson, or are you just going to go through it?
Okay, you can share your lesson.
Okay,
Go ahead,
Derek.
coworker.
Yeah, coworker Nick.
Really? Come on.
That's your name. They named you. So there you go.
I don't even know who that was. Was that last Friday when that happened or something like that?
Nicknames are not given. They are simply thrust upon you.
Exactly.
That
Oh
is
my
exactly what
gosh.
happened with you, staff member Nick.
There you go.
That should
staff
not be
member,
the
coworker,
case.
staff member. I like staff member. There we go. That's what he
Staff
said. Yeah,
member.
staff member Nick. Yeah. So.
Well, what's your lesson, Nick?
What's your lesson, Nick?
Well, Derek walked in this morning, and I was telling him that he sounded a lot like a dad, and he said that he's like, Nick, when you start off your day, you have choices, and it's not consequences, but I think that should be one that you should add.
Should be.
But
I say you got a chance and you got choices. You
Yes.
got choices and a chance.
Yes,
like
correct.
that. Yes.
I think consequences should be in there too.
Yeah, so you can say 3 C's, but I like choices and chance because you have a choice and a chance to make today better than yesterday.
I prefer my 2 C's on a handbag, if we're going to be honest.
There you go. There's one Chanel and
It's Chanel.
okay, Chanel.
Yeah,
there we
Chanel.
go. You see, I don't know all that stuff, handbags, and well, I do, but I don't. But I didn't know Chanel had. Yeah, I guess they do.
2
That
C's,
tells
2
you-
G's.
Yeah,
Or
that tells
those
you
another
how many
one.
times I've lately have bought handbags. So.
I'll stick to Michael Kors.
Also, styling. But
There we go.
let's get into it because we know that off season is list season. Whether it's power rankings or who had the best draft class, we love a good list around this time of year. But nothing is more of an off-season list than the off-season list. Because Bill Barnwell put on ESPN.com the best and worst 2023 NFL off seasons. Which teams improved the most and which teams didn't really improve at all. And coming in, dead last, number 32, with the worst offseason ranked by Bill Barnwell of ESPN.com, your Tennessee Titans. Bill Barnwell writes, what went right? General Manager Rand Carthon cleared out veterans who weren't living up to expectations, which I would say was a good start. But Dupree, Zach Cunningham, Robert Woods, Taylor Lewan, you cut the pieces that were too expensive and too injured. You replace them with cheaper pieces like a Daniel Brunskill and Azeez Al-Shaair. Great. What went wrong? I'm not sure whether the Titans are rebuilding. This is Bill Barnwell on ESPN.com. I'm not sure whether the Titans are rebuilding. The 2 moves hanging over the organization's head all offseason still haven't been resolved, as Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry are still on the roster. Both are entering the final year of their respective deals and have declined over the past 2 seasons. Tannehill is 34, Henry is 29. Are they really going to be pushing this team forward next season, let alone in 2024 and beyond?
Okay, see, again, this is the difference between guys that watch the team every day, the local guys here, whether it's Rex, whether it's Paul, whether it's Hut, TD, all of us that watches this team each and every day. This statement that he just made when talking about Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, he said both are entering the final year of their respective deals, which is right, and have declined over the past 2 seasons. Barnwell, what in the hell are you watching? Derrick Henry has not declined. I understand Derrick Henry went for 2,000 yards and then 16, whatever. But 1,500 yards is not declining. 1,500 yards shows me that this, with an offensive line that wasn't good, shows me this guy, you put him behind a Eagles offensive line, he's rushing for 2,200 yards. He is. There's no decline, at least last year. There was no decline in Derrick Henry. He got better as a pass catcher. Where is the decline when it comes to Derrick Henry? Ryan Tannehill. There was no decline in Ryan Tannehill. The team wasn't good. The people around him, the receivers, they didn't step up last year. A lot of it, some of it had to do with Treylon Burks just in and out because of injury and him being a rookie. Robert Woods, the miscalculation on Robert Woods. They should have waited to this year to sign a Robert Woods rather than last year because now he's 2 years removed from an ACL. They had an offensive line that wasn't good, pass blocking. But when you look at Ryan Tannehill, had he played a full season, he would have been the quarterback that we always thought he was. The numbers would have bared it out. But when you look at something like this, if you're not paying attention to this team, you would say, man, yeah, they are doing bad. Goodness, Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry has declined. They haven't. Derrick Henry still rushing 1,500 yards. He was a better pass catcher. I'm sure he's a better blocker as well. Ryan Tannehill did all he could while healthy to put his team in a position to win the division. When he got hurt, the team started to decline. So when I'm looking at this from Barnwell, great article.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Respect what he does, but that's the difference between watching this team every day, every single day, and seeing the things that, as opposed to someone that's more from a national standpoint, even though he does follow the team. I'm saying he doesn't, but he does, but he also probably writes about other things. When you're solely concentrating on the Tennessee Titans, you will see that in regards to these two players, it's a little bit skewed in a sense, because if you look at Ryan Tannehill's numbers, you'll say, yeah, he declined, but he didn't play the whole season.
Right, like we having such a strong understanding of this team and knowledge of what's been going on over the last few years, we can poke holes all over this. I was talking to Joe Rexrode and Adam Vingan this morning about this, and I said, well, and if, off the top of my head, I don't think the Lions had an extraordinary offseason.
No.
A bunch of their players were suspended for betting. I don't think that they had the greatest draft in the world. I don't know the Lions. I don't know the players on the fringe of the roster that they moved on from or guys that they have signed in free agency, but just from a 360-foot view, I don't think they had a great offseason either. So it's easy to poke holes in an argument when you don't know or when you're not looking at the teeny tiny little details. But I think you point out something very key, and it's Bill Barnwell basically saying, hey, you still got Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry? Great. Then that to me tells me enough. And that, per Bill Barnwell, and that tells me nobody thinks Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry are going to be good. Nobody respects Ryan Tannehill. People just assume that Derrick Henry is just a shell of himself because of the age, because of the history of the running back position. Has Derrick Henry, does he not have the same pop that he used to have? Does Derrick Henry get taken down probably sooner than he did in the past? Does he get taken down in the first tackle rather than the second, third, or fourth, or fifth like he used to be a few years ago? Yeah, I would say so. I would say that Derrick Henry at 29 is not the same running back that he was at 25. But he's still pretty damn good. So I think it's an unfair evaluation of Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. And I always go back to you look at the result and you don't look at the path that got you there. And you could look at, the Titans went on a 7-game losing streak. They missed the playoffs. They had a losing season. It's got to be because of the quarterback. Let's not forget that Ryan Tannehill didn't play in 5 games.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's necessarily fair. And also to poke a hole in this article as a whole, and I absolutely respect Bill Barnwell. He does great work for ESPN.com. But how can we evaluate an offseason when the offseason is still happening?
Yeah.
Like, we are in the offseason right now. Like, there are still a lot of moves that can be made. There are June 1st cuts that have yet to be made. There are acquisitions that have yet to be made across the league, not just for the Tennessee Titans. So that's another thing. And part of this evaluation is the draft. And you could look at it from a point of view of, well, the Titans need receivers, and they didn't draft a receiver until the 7th round. Totally fair and completely justified. But before we judge an offseason, shouldn't we give it some time to evaluate what this draft is?
Nope.
No, we don't have time for that.
According to, and Barnwell is not the only guy that probably, that does this. I mean, I think we all, especially after the draft, we all sort of assess the draft and was it a good draft for this team? Was it not a good draft? Was it a good draft for the Titans? Was it not a good draft? I think a lot of people believe that it wasn't a good draft for the Titans solely because they didn't draft a receiver. Had they drafted a receiver, say, in the 3rd round, one that we felt good about, I think we would have looked at this draft a little bit different.
Yeah.
Had we drafted a receiver instead of a running back without an ACL.
You'd look at it differently.
Exactly. You would look at it totally different.
Which in 3 years from now, Tajay Spears might be a 1,500-yard back,
Exactly.
whereas
Absolutely.
that receiver may have been a bust. I don't know.
Absolutely.
We would look at it very differently.
But we look at it differently. I'm just specifically talking or zeroing in on the whole Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry have declined. I don't think they have declined. I do believe that Derrick Henry is still the best runner in the National Football League. I never considered him the best running back because to me, when you're talking today's football, the running back, if you want to be the best running back, you need to do what Christian McCaffrey does. You need to do what Saquon Barkley does. You need to do what some of these backs, Breece
Hall.
Yeah, Breece Hall from the Jets. Or say the kid in Jacksonville,
Travis Etienne.
Travis Etienne. He can catch the ball out the backfield. He can run between the tackles, do all this other stuff. Well, Derrick Henry his career hasn't shown that he's the best running back because running back encompasses all of those things. But he definitely, I will put this up against any running back. He's the best runner in the National Football League. Still, last year, I said, I guarantee you Derrick Henry will have over 1,500 yards. He had over 1,500 yards. This season, this offensive line, I believe it's better. Derrick Henry will have another 1,500 yards this year. This kid, there's something different about Derrick Henry that it's hard for people to really realize, or they don't want to realize it. It's like, if you just watch and everybody's waiting for the shoe to drop with Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Why you can't just let this man play? He's different from any other back. Just like Earl Campbell was different from any other back. Just like Adrian Peterson was different. Barry Sanders was different. These guys are different for a reason. Derrick Henry is a different back than any other back that has come through the NFL within the last 10 years, minus Adrian Peterson. He's a different back than any other back the Titans have had since Eddie George. He's just a different dude. So to me, he's always, until he shows me different, he's the best runner in the National Football League.
And there's going to come a day where Derrick Henry is not Derrick Henry.
Exactly.
There's going to come a day where he cannot be that go-to guy that gets the number of snaps that he gets or the number of touches that he gets every single game that he's getting. But until that day comes, to your point, Derek, I'm not going to worry about it.
Exactly.
Until that day comes. And I'm not saying that the Titans had a fabulous, wonderful, outstanding offseason. I think that they made some moves that were necessary to make. They brought in some guys that were probably underwhelming, didn't have the same kind of celebrity value that maybe some other acquisitions that were out there to make. Maybe they didn't have the most stunning draft. I'm not here to say that the Titans had the best offseason in the NFL. But this shows me and just confirms what we've already believed from what we've heard and read and articles written, is that nobody believes in this team. And it's because nobody believes in Ryan Tannehill. But I do think that Bill Barnwell makes a couple of fair points. And we'll get into those coming up next. And, of course, your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Ball right to score. Yoshi sets up Matt Duchene.
All the big stories.
For the Predators, are you holding on to what you got, or are you selling some guys off?
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Green flag is in the
It
air.
may not happen that way every game.
His shot stopped.
Play better, gotta coach better.
TD Tigers.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Family Leisure's 31st Memorial Day sale.
DIY pools start at just $19.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed. 6 months, same as cash.
Great prices on spas and hot tubs. The Cypress Spa by Strong is only $29.99.
I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has hundreds of sets on sale.
The Sabre Infrared Grill starts at only $11.99. Complete Bull Grill Island start at only $39.99. Installed with a Sabre grill head. Tanning beds, pool tables, massage chairs on sale now.
Family Leisure, 2 huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
He's not going to be able to do that every game.
But it'd be different.
And I want to tell you about my friend over at 312 Pizza Company. 312 Pizza is my favorite place in town. It's family owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style, always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open every day except for Tuesday and is located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 or head to 312pizzaco.com to order. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's East Entrance. 5 museums in one and the greatest firearms museum anywhere. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
AM radio provides always-on news, sports, talk, traffic, and weather reports. And it's also a vital service that provides important emergency information when your community needs it most. Tell Congress you need AM radio to stay in your car. Because when cell phones and the internet are down, this free emergency service is critical. And when you don't have electricity, radio in the car is often your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
The Dell Technologies Summer Sale event starts now with limited quantity deals on select performance PCs with Windows 11 Pro. Save on select Vostro laptops with built-in security features and select Latitude laptops with enhanced privacy, collaboration, and connectivity. Save on essential accessories, plus free shipping and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to business customers by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
Cromwell Media, the proud owner of this radio station, is recognizing 3 of our talented teammates in May. At 1029 The Buzz, part-time host Roman Haviland notches 11 years, and Chris Atticus, the Buzz brand manager and midday host, celebrates 3 years. Nick Frazier, part-time producer on 1025, 1063 The Game, passes his first year with us. We thank each of them for helping us make a difference every day. And by the way, we're always looking for new talent. Ping us at together@cromwellmedia.com and let's talk.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I understand where Bill's coming from when he put his list together. I think it's because when the Titans offseason turns into a conversation about the viability of Ryan Tannehill, the viability of Derrick Henry, those are 2 foundational building blocks. And you're like, all right, well, if they're willing to move on from these players, it feels like that's a rebuild, right? I mean, who knows if it's a full-blown multi-year rebuild? Who knows if it's a micro rebuild? That all depends on either who you have waiting in the wings or who you have available to take. And then when neither of those players moves on, of course, it leads you to believe, well, okay, if these were players who are available, how much confidence is there in them, and where does that leave Tennessee? Are they in limbo? So I think a lot of people look at Tennessee and think, okay, it's trending downward because they're trying to shift gears here, and they were not able to do it with two pretty weighty players when it comes to what their deals are. I mean, obviously, we're looking at the last year, I think, for both of these guys here in Tennessee, but...
There you go. That was Charles Robinson this morning on Robbie and Rex Road. And I hear what he's saying there of the message nationally from the reports that the Titans were shopping Derrick Henry, that they were calling around about Ryan Tannehill. The message is they're done with him. They're moving on from him. They're no dang good. And now that they're holding on to them, it might seem like, okay, well, it's just a throwaway season. I don't see it that way. I see it as you've got a new general manager coming in, doing his due diligence about a 29-year-old running back to see if they could, in fact, move on from their quarterback. But they didn't. They were just doing their due diligence. They were doing, just dipping their toes in the water about what different paths there were to go down for this season. No trading partners, or at least no trade partner worth dealing those two players, so they're running it back with them. That's simply how I see it.
Yeah, and that's how I see it too. I don't think because they are choosing at this point, which I do believe is going to ultimately be status quo in regards to this season, whether they're back, and I think they're going to be here, unless Will Levis shows that he's ready, and Vrabel along with Rand Carthon feels okay. Let's just put it in the hands of the young guy right now while he still has Derrick Henry behind him and a really good defense in front of him. So let's move on from Ryan Tannehill. Let's find a trade partner, somebody out there willing to make this trade before the season starts, because I think once the season starts, it's going to be very hard to trade a starting quarterback. Typically, when quarterbacks are traded with starting caliber in the season, they're usually backup. They've lost the job somehow, some way, to the younger guy or someone else, and then they eventually, are able to move him during the season because somebody gets hurt.
Right.
But if Ryan Tannehill's the starter, he's not getting, if they don't trade him before the season, I don't think they're going to be able to trade him during the season.
And I also look at it too, like, to that point, let's say the Green Bay and New York Jets trade never went through. Never happened. It was disputes about the compensation. Couldn't quite figure it out. Aaron Rodgers stayed in Green Bay. Would anybody be discounting Green Bay because Green Bay wanted to move on from Aaron Rodgers but didn't?
No.
So why is that different with Ryan Tannehill? It's just because it's Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, it's because it's Ryan Tannehill. I think, obviously Aaron Rodgers is going to get an enormous amount of grace when it comes to situations like that.
Because he's a superstar.
He's an MVP winner, two-time MVP winner, MVP back-to-back. But I think he's won, 3 times, somewhere around there. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's arguably one of the greatest quarterback of all time when you're talking about talent, not championships. When you're talking about talent and what he's able to do with the football, he's probably the best of the quarterbacks that have played over 10 years, let's say, because Patrick Mahomes will be there, but he hasn't played as many games in as many years as Aaron Rodgers has. So we might be having a different debate, say, in 10 years.
Right.
Who's the best ever as far as arm talent? But, because Ryan Tannehill hasn't, I think that Cincinnati game, it's sad, but that Cincinnati game hurt his legacy.
It is a stain on his resume.
Yeah, it 100%. Hurt it bad. It was almost like, I don't want to say catastrophic to his legacy, but damn near, because nobody remembers what he did after that, really. Or if they do, it's like, oh, he wasn't this and that and that. But they don't remember what he did before that, how he had to come in and learn the offense and beat out the starter, which the Titans were almost ready to go their separate ways with I'm forgetting the kid's name now. The quarterback.
Logan Woodside?
No. The first round.
Oh, Mariota.
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Mariota. They were ready to sort of move on from Marcus Mariota anyway, the new coaching staff.
And Ryan Tannehill made that decision even easier
Exactly.
for them.
He came in, he took hold of this team and became the leader, and this team got better with him underneath center. But nobody remembers that. Nobody remembers how efficient he was as a quarterback. Nobody remember that. Only thing they remember is what he did in Cincinnati, against Cincinnati in the playoff game. 3 turnovers. That's all people remember. And that's unfortunate because he has been a good player, more than good player for this organization. But only thing people remember is he threw 3 interceptions.
And it was a bad game.
It was a bad game.
I mean, had Ryan Tannehill just held on to the football, had a game similar to what we saw this past season, where he just takes care of the football, it's 200, 250 yards, not a crazy, sexy game, but you just play very conservative football, I think the Titans would have gone to the Super Bowl that year. And that is so painful to think about what could have been. It was not a good day for Ryan Tannehill. And I'm not saying that Ryan Tannehill should command the same amount of respect as some of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, because that's not what he is. But I think to say that the Titans had the worst offseason, not one of the worst offseason in the NFL, and citing one of the reasons for that being the fact that they held on to Ryan Tannehill, I just don't think is very fair, nor is it indicative to what he can do or has done for this football team away from that Cincinnati game. But let's get some of your thoughts on it. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Kenston has a question for D-Mase. What's up, Kenston?
What's on, guys? What's up, D-Mase?
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, D-Mase? A little bit off topic there, but more so about the Titans offense, right? And how a lot of people are talking about, what they've done at receiver and kind of not looking at how, in my opinion, they've added a lot of explosive pieces to the offense as a whole. And wondering what you think about, last year, we saw Traylon Burks in flashes, but he was hurt. Austin Hooper was the tight end, not an explosive player, but now Chig showed he was one of the most explosive, not just rookie tight ends, tight ends in the league. You added one of the most explosive running backs in the draft. You still have the most explosive running back in the league in Derrick Henry. And then Kyle Phillips showed an electricity to special teams that we hadn't seen since you were back there. So if you could just talk about how those guys returning and new guys coming maybe could surprise fans in the fall, this offense could maybe be more explosive than we thought it could be. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Kinston. Appreciate it. Well, I mean, long answer short. This is what happens sort of in the NFL or sports in general. You look at moves teams make, and you look at their roster and you say, well, and we're guilty of it, looking at their receiving core and say, man, that's not gonna cut it in this league. You're gonna have a hard time scoring with this core of receivers. Or you look at the running backs and you say, well, why did you draft a guy in the 3rd round that has issues with his knee? And then you look at the tight end position. It's like, man, you only got really one tight end that's shown he can truly play in this league, and that's Chig Okonkwo. Well, you draft another one that has some explosiveness in him, big guy, but you just don't know how he will adapt his first year in the NFL. So we all look at this. The good part about it is the game is not played right now. That's the good part about it. Right. All of these questions that we have will be answered, 2 months from now, 2 or 3 months from now. It will be answered. We will start to see whether this receiving core is going to be the worst in the league, like many have said and have ranked, or are they going to be in the middle of the pack? Because if they're in the middle of the pack, then the Titans are good. They don't have to be the best, but they can't damn sure be the worst. If they're middle of the pack, this receiving core, that's good for them. Traylon Burks, he's going to come back, and I want to damn near guarantee you, just like I said about Derrick Henry last year, that I guaranteed he would be a 1,500-yard rusher, and he was. I damn near almost guarantee you that Traylon Burks, if he stays healthy, he will be a 1,000-yard receiver. He will have 9 touchdowns. He will average about 13 yards per catch. That's who that guy is. He's not the guy that we saw last year because he was hurt a lot of times. That's not the guy. The guy that I saw coming out of college and the glimpses that I saw on the field only showed me, it didn't take this season or this, OTAs to figure it out. It told me that when this guy's healthy, he's a playmaker. I've seen it. I've seen enough in him that lets me know he's the number one receiver. He just needs to stay on the field. That's all he needs to do.
Well, let's continue that coming up next, because one point that I think that Bill Barnwell makes about the Titans offseason, one reason why he says he thinks the Titans had the worst offseason in the NFL, is because of the wide receiver position. How much can Traylon Burks alone change that perception? And your phone calls as well, 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
The NFL offseason is in full swing, but you'll never miss any of the big news. Thanks to Yahoo's Charles Robinson.
They know that there's a chance that they're going to have to deal this guy.
He's one of the best insiders there is.
All of a sudden, he becomes a functional player who we thought was just trash.
Join Charles Robinson every Thursday morning at 8 on Robbie and Rex Road, presented by the NFL Alumni Association on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
When the game goes into overtime, but the game goes into overtime. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Pick up Bud Light at your local convenience store today. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Men, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, our urologists and providers have been helping guys with erectile dysfunction and other sexual health issues for years. And unlike some, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we take a comprehensive approach to your sexual health. Our sole focus is to treat ED and related conditions. ED can be affected by a bunch of things, from hormones, prostate issues, medical conditions, and even simply aging. The fact is, most guys experience it at some point in life. If you're suffering with ED, it's extremely important to see a provider that understands how your medical conditions, hormone levels, and other factors can impact your ability to have sex. That's why you should come to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, where we have treatments that are effective in nearly 90% of cases. I can't tell you how many guys we've seen that thought their situation was hopeless, only to be wildly surprised. So give us a call today. We'll do some blood work with a T-check and a medical consult to give you the best shot at success. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
When you want to rock.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we sleep when we want to?
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
Hey Nashville, this is Gary Bettman. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game and The Game Nashville app. Hey, join 1025 The Game for the 2nd annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes, so sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. I want to get D-Mase's breakdown of the wide receiver position, because in Bill Barnwell's most recent article on ESPN.com, he says that he thinks that the Titans have had the worst offseason in the NFL. One of those reasons being the wide receiver position, the fact that they didn't address the wide receiver position in the draft until the 7th round. But first, I want to get your thoughts on that. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ricky is on the line. What's up, Ricky?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. First-time caller here.
Happy to have you.
Thank you for calling.
Hey, thanks. The thing about Tannehill and Henry and even Byard, they weren't shot because of their decline in talent. They were shot because of money. And the other thing is one of the things that people are not considering in the offseason for the Titans, of course, Barnwell wouldn't do that, is that we got rid of Downing and Keith Carter, which were our two biggest weaknesses, offensive line and offensive play calling. So when you got rid of those two guys, you also upgraded your offense. All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thanks for your call, Ricky. It's a fair point. Could you have upgraded at quarterback? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what the Titans have tried to do in the last 2 off seasons. I think it's very telling that they've drafted 2 quarterbacks in 2 years. They would like to move on from Ryan Tannehill. I think part of that is money, to his point. Part of that I do think is production. They look at the rest of the AFC and they're like, look, we love you, Ryan, but we need to be up there with the Allens and the Mahomes and the Burrows of the AFC, and not with the rest of the jabronis in the AFC. And that's another aspect of this offense, is I think that we all assume that Tim Kelly is going to be an upgrade over Todd Downing, because I don't know how much worse it could get.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it can get worse.
It can get worse.
I hope it doesn't.
Knock on wood. All fair points.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at, obviously you expect the offense to run a little bit different now that Tim Kelly is offensive coordinator. It seems like they're changing a lot of what they are doing. I think I heard Ryan Tannehill say this is a new offense, so everybody's sort of learning a new offense. So things are going to be different. The verbiage sort of may be the same, but how they get to the plays might be a little bit different. There might be more motion. There might be more, different personnel or whatnot. Or if they do change personnel, then, a Traylon Burks might be more a part of all of the personnels than he was last year. And I think that's what I got a little frustrated with this Titans team under Downing, is that, and I'm not sitting here saying Downey had all control over who's going to play and what personnel and this and that and that and this. But to me, your number one guy, who for them has been Traylon Burks. They wanted him to be that guy last year. He was at times, but often because of injury, he wasn't. But if you have your number one guy, to me, that number one guy needs to be playing 100% of the pass plays. Let's just say that. 100% of the pass plays, I don't know, 90-something% or 85 to 90% of the run plays. Yeah. You might have jumbo personnel where he's not in, stuff like that, goal line. Yeah. I understand that. But he needs to be in the game majority of the time. Again, I come from a school of thought of, if you're the number one guy, you don't come out until you tap your helmet and let me know you're ready to come out. And then I will let you come out, take a breather, and then throw you back in the game.
But I'm not
voluntarily
taking you out of the game. Like when A.J. Brown was here, he would never come out of the game. Why? Because he's that dude. Why am I taking that dude? That's like, taking Michael Jordan out of the game in a critical time, or taking LeBron out in a critical. They are him, as the kids say. They are him. A.J. Brown was him. So why was he out of the game so much? Traylon Burks, you want him to be that guy. So don't keep on, pulling him in and out of lineup. So I hope that's one thing that will change under Tim Kelly that wasn't evident under Downing.
And Paul Kaharski on paulkaharski.com, I believe it was Mike Herndon that wrote it, broke down kind of some of the changes with the Tim Kelly offense, and part of the terminology is different. Yeah. Chigakonkwo talked at OTAs and said that the play calls are a lot shorter. It's more 1- and 2-word play calls rather than the long, almost sentences of the West Coast system. The idea of that, I believe, is just to keep everything moving a little bit more up-tempo, up-tempo, up-tempo. That's something that I think we can see a little bit more in the Tim Kelly offense. Quicker, faster, more up-tempo. You're not taking so long to get in the huddle, to get back in formation, and to snap the football. So I think that will be different.
What is the old adage? It's work smarter,
not
harder.
Yeah.
You can work hard, but you can work smarter. I think what Tim Kelly is trying to do is work smarter.
Yeah.
We don't need to have all that. Let's throw all that verbiage, let's throw all that trash out. Let's be more concise with what we want to call, so we don't have to sit in the huddle and be wondering, a quarterback wondering, okay, I got to finish getting this play in because it's so long. No, let's be concise in what we're doing. Let's shorten everything down so we can, boom, in and out of huddle very quickly. Everybody knows what they're doing. Now let's go. When you have this long verbiage, because I've been a part of both. I've been a part of the number system. I've been a part of the verbiage system where the verbiage is long, where it's short. And I felt that, a lot of times the shorter the verbiage was, the better, because now we can get in and out of huddle. If anyone has a problem, they can linger back and look at the quarterback. And typically, if a receiver linger back and look at the quarterback knows that, okay, something's wrong here. Let me tell him quickly so we have enough time for me to relay to him exactly what I want him to do. But when you have this long verbiage, I can't do that.
How much quicker is it really? Like, you go from, Spider 2Y Banana, Sonic the Hedgehog, XY2, whatever, to, Oreo cream.
Yeah.
Like, how much is it really save you that much time? Is it really that much quicker?
It does, because now I'm not in the huddle for a long time. When I hear the play, I know exactly what I need to do. And if I don't, then I can look back at the quarterback without even saying I don't know what to do, and quarterback will tell me. Once you get ready to lead a huddle and you look back at the quarterback with that look in your face, quarterback knows.
He knows, yeah.
Like,
I got you.
I got you. Don't worry, I got you. I'm gonna tell you. Boom, boom. So now it's quick. Whereas if the verbiage is long, I'm sitting there as a receiver trying to process it. Like, damn, what do I do? And then as I'm processing and walking out, the quarterback we only got like 8 seconds left, so I can't. I got to have more time to have control of this offense.
That does make sense, the processing time.
Exactly.
Because it's not just about the amount of time that it takes up to say it. It's about the time that it takes you to process and execute
Exactly. Some plays, the minute you say one word, I know exactly what to do. Some plays, it takes a little bit longer. And some guys, it just takes them a little bit longer to learn the verbiage. So if you make it concise, quick, I can get it. And now let's go.
Let's get back into your phones on this. Dan is on the line. What's up, Dan?
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call and enjoying the show. I have a comment about my perception on Tannehill and Henry. And if I were both of them and I was advising them, I would tell them to leave the Titans and go find someplace else to play if they're concerned about their legacy. They've had to play under some very poor offensive line play the last several years, which has really hurt both of their performances. You can't consistently get hit in the backfield and expect a great yardage for any game. And they can then choose which team to go with. Give me somebody with a mediocre offensive line, and their statistics would be a heck of a lot better. And if no one picks them up, they say, I'll wait a year. But someone's going to pick these guys up because they're fantastic. And I just blame the management and of the Titans on not being able to build an offensive line. It really starts with the offensive line if you're going to have an offense that does anything. And
thanks for your call, Dan. Appreciate it. To that point, if I'm Ryan Tannehill, I am probably frustrated with the Tennessee Titans. It's like, look, I've had horrendous offensive lines. You didn't draft me a receiver. I'm trying to do my absolute best without working with a whole lot here. But let's be realistic. Ryan Tannehill hits the market. Where's he going?
Yeah, I mean,
Derrick Henry. He's a 29-year-old running back. Where's he going?
There will be there's a place for Ryan Tannehill. There's a place for Derrick Henry. Is it an ideal place? We don't know. So, but I think Derrick Henry, because I brought up the legacy thing and I know why the caller then said it. I think Derrick Henry, from this standpoint, I think his legacy is almost etched in stone to a point where you can't remove it.
Yeah.
As far as who he is as a player, I think it gets etched permanently. Depends on what he does from here on out. As far as Hall of Fame, is he at Hall of Fame? Right now, he's borderline. I mean, what he's done, if it was up to me, if he was retired today or if something happened to him as far as injury-wise, he can play, he's in. Because my thing is, It's the same thing with Terrell Davis. I know Terrell went to 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl MVP, but if you look at the numbers, his numbers bear it out that he's a Hall of Fame running back if you just look at what Derrick Henry has done. So if injury was to occur, I think you would have to put him in because of what he was able to accomplish in such a short period of time when he became a starter. But I think moving forward, if he remains healthy, then I think he will continue to write his story, his story in this game as far as, how he ranks with the great backs of our time.
And I don't know how concerned you can be about your legacy if you're Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry right now.
Yeah, you're not.
Let's go in. Let's do the best we can possibly do. Let's win football games. And whenever I retire and my legacy is what it is, then so be it. But my job is to come out here and win football games. And I'm going to do that with the Tennessee Titans. More of your phones coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mace, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, time to tell you about Loan Pronto. And once again, you've got your needs financially. Maybe it's you want to address some bills that are creeping up on you. They're snowballing because you've got some high interest rates. So Loan Pronto has got the way to get through that and be in a better place financially for the rest of 2023. It's the all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program. It's just what you need. You don't have to do the full home refi. You can tap a portion of your equity that you have in your home and then enjoy a super low monthly payment. And the good thing about this, it can happen pretty quick and easy. It's an all-digital process now. And then you could take that money that you could have in 7 to 10 days and then address and get the credit card bill to nothing, pay off the car, pay the tuition, whatever it might be on your financial docket that you want to get done. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity. 9 out of 10 homeowners don't even need an appraisal. So call Loan Pronto right now, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Mom, we're out of potato chips.
Teenagers, they'll eat you out of house and home, kind of like health insurance, which can take a big bite out of the family budget. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available.
Can we order pizza?
Visit FBHP.com or your local Farm Bureau office today.
Imagine you're looking at a balancing scale with everything you do for other people on one side and everything you do for yourself on the other side. If it isn't balanced, maybe it's time to spend a little more time on you. And therapy is a great place to start. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can help you find that balance and stick to it. Visit BetterHelp.com/score to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/score.
Hi, Sarah. I'm sorry I'm late. The traffic is crazy.
Yeah, it is. And it doesn't help that gas prices have skyrocketed. I can't believe how much it costs for gas now.
Everyone's talking about how much gas is, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app, and I get cash back for every gallon of gas I buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid real cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yeah, real cash every time I buy gas.
What? That sounds like it could really add up.
I've made around $200 already.
Wow, that's serious extra money. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code CAR3 for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back in your first fill-up. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code CAR3 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus in your first tank. That's code CAR3 for 25 cents per gallon cash back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are right back into your phones as promised. Justin is on the line. What's up, Justin?
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing?
Good.
I guess y'all basically touched on a lot of the things that I was going to say, but I'm excited about seeing these wide receivers in this new offense. I feel like some of these guys have played only in a more complicated system under Todd Downing. I think Tim Kelly coming in going to give us a different, perspective on seeing these guys and maybe bringing out more of their talent, like he spoke about, on the OTAs the other day. So that's really what I had a thought on.
Yeah, thanks for your call, Justin. Appreciate it. I kind of live in the school of thought of Jimmys and Joes over X's and O's. Like, if you just have elite players, chances are you're going to be pretty darn successful, really, no matter what the play call is. But also, that's not a blanket statement. Because you can just call dumb play after dumb play after dumb play, and it doesn't matter if you have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase out there or if you have me and Nick Keiser throwing balls to one another. It does make kind of a difference. With these guys, with this receiving core, I think step 1A is, can you stay healthy? Mm-hmm. Need you to stay healthy. And then we can get to how much talent is brought out by Tim Kelly. But I am excited to see Treylon Burks under a new offensive system.
Yeah, I am as well. I want to see if what I believe in my head about Treylon Burks and what I've seen, will it match up now that he's healthy and I hope and presume he will be healthy throughout the season. Now, he's going to have nicks and bruises, but nothing that is going to cause him to miss games.
You at least hope.
Exactly. So I want to believe that what I saw briefly is true about him, that this kid is a damn good player, and his second year will be leaps and bounds better than his first year, because I believe he's going to stay healthy, but then he knows this league and what it takes to play at this league. Some of these defensive backs that he played against last year, he will play against this year. He knows them. He's studying now these defensive backs, these defenses. He got a better grasp of how defenses, from a secondary standpoint, play, and what tips certain defenses or defensive backs off, so you can kind of get a leg up on them. So I'm believing all of that. I just hope that it shows up, and I believe it shows up on the field. So I'm not worried about Treylon Burks. I've never been worried about Treylon Burks. The other guys, I like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine.
For what he is.
For what he is, I like him. And I heard Tim Kelly. I was listening to Jared yesterday driving home, and he played the clip of Tim Kelly, sort of describing all the receivers, like, yeah, you remember in this game, And what people got to understand is this, you have to look at the player for who he is, just like you said. Mm-hmm. You got to look at the player for who he is. And is he accomplishing the things that you want him to accomplish? We're not asking you to be, more than what you are, but are you being 100% who you are as a player on that field? Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is that guy. He gives them 100% of who he is on that field. He makes tough catches. Is he going to get open every single time? No. But he's where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there, when the quarterback wants him to be there. He's that type of guy. I know exactly what I'm going to get out of Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. I am going to get 500 to 600 yards from him, 3 to 4 touchdowns. That's what I'm going to get from him if he stays healthy and if this passing game is better under Tim Kelly. This is what I will get from him. Guarantee you. 500 to 600 yards. I would say 3 to 5 touchdowns. That's what I'm going to get from him. Kyle Phillips, I know what he is. I know what he is today.
Yeah.
He's a guy that you throw in a slot, and he will be your chain mover, but he got to stay healthy.
Right.
But he will be your chain mover. It's not going to be pretty. He's not going to wow a lot of people, but each and every game, he's going to make that one critical catch that keeps the chains moving. And everybody's going to say that's why they kept Kyle Phillips. That's why they have him in the lineup. This is who I believe Kyle Phillips and Nick Westbrook-Akine is.
They're supplementary pieces around Traylon Burks.
I don't expect them to be 1,000-yard receivers.
If they are great.
I don't expect Kyle Phillips to be the best slot guy in the National Football League because, newsflash, Jamar Chase plays in the slot too.
Cooper Kupp plays in the slot.
Cooper Kupp plays primarily in the slot, and he's probably the best slot receiver out there. So I know what I'm going to get with those three. It's Racey McMath. It's Chris Moore. Even though I know a little bit of what you're going to give him, I'm a veteran guy. He's going to give you, basically almost what he gave you last year when he was with Houston, I believe. 500-600 yards, somewhere around there.
I don't even know if 500 or 600 yards is fair for Chris Moore, but he is one of those guys that he's there.
If he's a start, if he becomes a starter, say the Titans can't make any major moves to get a big time receiver, and he's capable of being a starter in this league, a number 2 guy in this league. This receiving core it's not the worst. It's not. Because I haven't looked at everybody else. I don't know everybody. I know maybe 4 or 5 teams receiving cores. They're typically the top teams. I can't say that the Titans are the worst.
It's pretty bad.
It's bad, but it's not. But we're only basing that upon numbers.
And we're basing that upon what we know now.
Exactly.
We know that Traylon Burks struggled to stay healthy this past year. We know that Kyle Phillips, it was the same thing. He was on and off the field. He couldn't stay healthy. We know that Nick Westbrook-Akine, at best, is a wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
Chris Moore is kind of just a guy.
He's a 3-2. You can play him at the 2.
You can play him at 2, but he'll give you 3 production.
Yeah, he will give you the 3 production. He will have his games here and there. But the script is different if Kyle Phillips would have had 400 yards last year. People would expect, he was a late round pick. 400 or 500 yards is good for him, so we expect him to be even better the next year. The problem is that we looked at Nick Westbrook-Akine and Kyle Phillips, and we looked at their numbers, and we expected probably more of Nick Westbrook-Akine last year. And we look at Kyle Phillips and said, well, he couldn't stay healthy, and we determined how they are based on what we saw last year, and it's fair. But we also got to take into account these guys did make plays for this team, but they were hurt. They ended up getting hurt. Just imagine if these guys stay healthy. They build that rapport with Ryan Tannehill. Now Ryan Tannehill feels comfortable with throwing the ball to him because we haven't sat here and said, only one guy that we've talked about dropping footballs, and he's no longer here. One guy. Everybody else, this wasn't a problem with everybody else.
But it's the unknown.
It's the unknown.
It's the unproven. And it's prove it to me that you can stay healthy. Prove
Exactly.
it to me that in year 2, Kyle Phillips and Traylon Burks, that you can take this step forward. Prove to me, Traylon Burks, that you can be a number 1. Because you're going to be the number 1 no matter what. You have to be the number 1. But can you fill in that role?
Well, I think he's embraced it. I think he's going to embrace it.
I think he has.
I think this kid is going to be – I think he's going – this kid is going to be – I think he's going to be special. Barring injury, I think he's going to be special.
I'm encouraged by what I've seen from Traylon Burks this offseason. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get back into your phones on this. But coming up next, I think we've all kind of changed how we look at Mike Vrabel now that we know that he has more say in personnel, he has more say in the GMing side of things. But has the locker room looked at him differently? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Keep listening to 102.5 The Game for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dave Matthews Band at Bridgestone Arena, Friday, May 26th, courtesy of Green Trees Company Dispensary. Listen for your cue to text to win DMB tickets from The Game and our friends at Green Trees Company Dispensary. The spring menu is here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, featuring their signature cast iron pie with herb roasted chicken, English peas, carrots, potato, simple greens, and a toasted biscuit crumble topping. Or garden succotash with snap peas, black-eyed peas, roasted peppers, sweet corn, tomato, and caramelized onion. Or try the steak fritas with pan-seared ribeye. Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily till 2 with brunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 till 2.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon. Big park, bigger fun, and big savings with buy one, get one free admission. 2 parks, 2 tickets for the price of 1 while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Beach Bend Park, where parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. Your ticket to summer fun and just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your BOGO deal while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Carrie, is this schedule the most updated?
There's a wedding season rush at Dr. Iona's dental practice.
We're fully booked this week. We can try and squeeze you in next Tuesday.
She needs a dental hygienist to unveil fresh smiles.
How long has 3 been under the UV light?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keiser. The Florida Panthers are heading back to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 1996. It was a back-and-forth effort all night long as the Hurricanes were trying to avoid elimination. Here's the game winner on the Panthers Radio Network.
Barkov right circle, down to the goal line, Kachuk in front shot. He scores! He scores! He scores! Matthew Kachuk, a power play goal! It's 4-3 Panthers with 4.3 seconds to go in regulation time.
And now the Miami Heat can wrap up the Eastern Conference Final tonight in the NBA. And if the Heat win, they'll take on the Denver Nuggets for the championship. And the Nashville Sounds took down the Iowa Cubs 13-2 last night in a hit parade. They'll be back in action tonight at 6:20 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Stone Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Cranks it, he scores. On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game in the Game Nashville app. We're live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios, streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet and the 32 Thoughts podcast will join us in 1 hour. We'll get his thoughts on the Predators offseason. Where in the world do the Predators stand with their coach? And also all of the action in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I want to get into this because I thought that Joe Rexrode, to take words out of Adam Vingan's mouth, had a very astute observation this morning. Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports was on with Robbie and Adam this morning. Adam Vingan in for Robbie Stanley this week. And Joe talked about the perception of Mike Vrabel. Now, we know that Mike Vrabel has gone from a system within the Tennessee Titans organization where it was Amy Adams Strunk is the owner, John Robinson is the GM, and Mike Vrabel is the coach. Mike, your job is to win games. John, your job is to find good players. And we all know now in the Ran Carthon era of the Tennessee Titans, those roles are kind of blurred. It is a collaboration. So it's not Mike's only job now to go make up a game plan, hire the right coaches, and to win games. Now he and Mike Vrabel kind of walk in hand to make these decisions together. Mike Vrabel is not the general manager of this football team, but he's doing a whole lot more GMing now than he was this time last year. So Joe Rexrode asked the very fair question to Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports of, we know we look at Mike Vrabel a little bit differently, but do the Tennessee Titans look at Mike Vrabel? And the players in the locker room look at Mike Vrabel a little bit differently. This was Charles Robinson this morning.
It's an astute observation, and I would think, yeah, that definitely exists with the Titans right now. People would be kidding themselves if they don't think that Mike Vrabel is going to have a much more there's going to be a lot more open latitude there for Mike to make the decisions he needs to with the roster without having to, go to a John Robinson and say, like, hey, this is shared power. Mike said that. I think the way I perceive it, Mike is still very much he's gained a heck of a lot more power than he had prior.
So Charles Robinson is saying, I think you would be silly to think that the dynamic of the player and Mike Vrabel relationship has changed. You've been there, though, D-Mase.
I don't. From what I've heard of Mike Vrabel, and this is why players, and I forgot who I was talking with, but this is why players like love Mike Vrabel or respect Mike Vrabel so much, because he's the same way with everybody. He's the same way with everybody. He's a guy that's straight across the board. You know exactly what you're going to get from Mike Vrabel. He's not going to be up one day and then down one day. He's not going to treat you, like his best friend one day and then don't talk to you the next day. Everybody in that building, especially the players, know what they're getting out of Mike Vrabel, know how he's going to approach them. That's why they will run through a brick wall for him, because there's no walking on eggshells like, man, what does coach think today? What is he going to yell at me today? Is he going to walk past me without saying anything? Mm-hmm. That's not Mike Vrabel, from what I've gathered. So him having more power in the front office doesn't change anything with these players. Why? Because Mike has been the same way with every player that he's had. Now, he may have liked some players more than others, but if you ask all those guys, they'll tell you, like, Mike, he will curse Derrick Henry out just as much as he will curse that third-string linebacker out if you're not doing what he's asking you to do. Or he will love on you just like he will love on Derrick Henry. If you are,
or Ben Jones.
Yeah, or Ben Jones. If you are giving the team all that you have, if you are respecting the team, then that's what he will show to you. So to me, just because now he has gained a little bit more power, I'm good. If I do the things, that's one thing that I love about Nick Saban, is that you knew exactly what you were going to get from him. Mm-hmm. If you did what he asked you to do, you were fine. You were good. But if you didn't, then he was going to get on you. No matter who you were, starter, non-starter. That's what you're getting out of Mike Vrabel. If you do the things that he asks you to do, you go out there, you bust your butt, you put the team first, we're good. But if you don't, then yes, I have a problem as a head coach. So with him getting more sort of power, doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. Not to the players. As long as they do what they need to do, they're fine.
And I respect the hell out of that. When anyone in leadership, when the expectation is just, hey, do what you need to do. If you do your job and you do what you need to do, we're good. If you don't do what I need you to do, if you don't do what is necessary to help this football team or whatever it is, then we have a problem. And I respect that. When there are no highs, there are no lows. It is simply expectations.
Exactly.
And I kind of struggle with this, but you've been there, D-Mase.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of had this transition of power with the coach that was simply a coach that got elevated a little bit more with Jeff Fisher. Did you feel like any of your teammates felt differently about Jeff Fisher?
Again, I don't think the players sort of felt any different about him. I mean, because once I think it's hard for people to sort of, believe that. Listen, when a player gets in that building and he's on that field, he's not thinking about who's the GM or who's the president or if the coach has this much power, if the coach don't have this. They're just thinking about getting the job done. Mm-hmm. That's it. So I didn't look at Fish any different. Yeah. It was like, I'm going out here and I'm doing my job. And like, if I'm doing my job, I'm not worried about anything. We're gonna butt heads. That's just the way it is. That's how competition is. When you put individuals, men or women, in an environment like a sports environment where everything is sort of this pressure situation. Every day is a pressure situation. You're gonna have arguments between coaches and players, or players and players, or coaches and coaches. You're gonna have that. So just because he has a little bit more power doesn't mean that those things still won't occur. You're still going to go out and you're still going to be that player. If I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, I'm not worried. Eventually, yeah, they will cut me, but I'm going to make sure you don't cut me because of my performance. You maybe cut me for some other things, money, salary cap, but you're not cutting me because of my performance. And that's the way, I guess I can only speak from my experience. That's the way I approached it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't, because Floyd used to come out. Floyd would watch practice every day. Either he would be on the balcony watching practice from his office, or he would be on the ground floor watching practice. It didn't make me no difference because I knew I was going out there and performing the way I needed to perform. Now, if you're not out there performing the way you need to perform, then yeah, you're going to worry.
We have a problem.
Whether the head coach has power or not, somebody's watching you. Uh-huh. Somebody's watching a film, So I don't know if guys are going to look at Vrabel any different. I don't believe they are. Why? Because Vrabel has been a model of consistency in their eyes on how he treats individuals.
And I would say that I probably come from the same school of thought of, I don't care how much power you have. Mm-hmm. If we have a mutual respect and understanding, then great. I mean, you could be my equal. You could be above me. You could be below me. Respect each other. Cool. Got it. Like Chase was talking about this earlier, and he talked about his graduation from assistant programming director to programming director. I didn't view Chase any differently, nor did I feel like I needed to walk on eggshells around Chase because he was the programming director. Because I understand that Chase had a job to do and Chase has expectations for me. I'll meet those expectations, and that's what I'm going to do. Not all of a sudden going to change my perception of somebody because of the amount of power that they have over me. But I can't tell each individual in that locker room how to feel. And to your point, D-Mase, I don't know how they feel about Mike Vrabel and his pull in one way or another, or his GMing duties. I don't know how they feel, nor will we ever know how they feel, nor can I tell them how to feel. But I do think it's an interesting dynamic. And I do think it's interesting to apply that to one certain individual. And that's what I want to get into coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Blown out in one game against a team that's just flat out better than you.
And your source for Nashville sports.
How many needs are you going to create for yourself this offseason?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Krebs Kubota wants to help you get your job done right with the parts you need and a service department that can handle maintenance and repairs from the largest excavator to the smallest two-cycle engine. For your farm, home, or commercial needs, Krebs Kubota will keep your Kubota running like a Kubota. Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment dealer, with convenient locations in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Also online at KrebsKubota.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willy Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
It's Family Leisure's Memorial Day sale.
So get your family swimming now. DIY pools start at just $19.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99. Installed with 6 months, same as cash.
Over 450 different packages to choose from. Guaranteed below internet prices.
Family Leisure has great prices on spas and hot tubs in stock and ready for immediate delivery. The Cypress Spa by Strong is only $29.99. Family Leisure has the one you want at guaranteed low prices.
I want to be in some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has hundreds of sets from all the best brands on sale at guaranteed low prices. And right now, free delivery.
I want to check out the new grills and grill islands. The Sabre infrared grill starts at only $11.99. Complete bull grill islands start at only $39.99. Installed on your patio with a Sabre grill. Tanning beds, pool tables, massage chairs, and more. On sale now at Family Leisure's 31st Memorial Day sale.
That's Family Leisure. 2 huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Carrie, is this schedule the most updated?
There's a wedding season rush at Dr. Iona's dental practice.
We're fully booked this week. We can try and squeeze you in next Tuesday.
She needs a dental hygienist to unveil fresh smiles.
How long has 3 been under the UV light?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You know, players get paranoid about, like, does this change now? You know, there's a lot of complaining, honestly, that goes on with NFL players around either position coaches, trainers, locker room attendants, all these different things. And if suddenly they feel like they're worried about whether or not the head coach is going to find out, you know, or it just creates a situation where now it's sort of like the players feel like, okay, now we also have this dividing line between us and the head coach, because the head coach is now basically the head coach / GM. It can screw with locker rooms. It's weird. You don't hear about it a lot, but you definitely hear it from players themselves. And often their agents will tell you, like, hey, I tell my guy, don't talk around this individual anymore in the franchise, because he'll go straight to the head coach and he'll tell the head coach what you're saying. And now the head coach is basically the GM, and you really need to think about that. Those conversations actually happen.
That was Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports on with Robbie and Rexroad this morning. Caroline Fenton, Derek Mason, Willy Donick out today. He's a baseball dad today. But Charles Robinson and Joe Rexroad were having this conversation this morning on Robbie and Rexroad. And Joe had a very interesting conversation and question to Charles Robinson of when coaches kind of graduate into that next level of they have a lot more say within personnel. They're essentially playing GM Junior. Similar to how Sean Payton he started out as a head coach, Mickey Loomis was the general manager, and then he started to get more and more and more say until eventually Mickey Loomis was basically just kind of there, and Sean Payton had final say in their decisions. So he was asking that question in the lens of Mike Vrabel. Now that he, I think we all can agree, has an elevated role, that he has more say in personnel, He has more say in the GMing side of things. How does that affect the locker room? Now, Derek, I think you and I both agree that it shouldn't. It shouldn't affect the locker room. It shouldn't affect the way that players approach Mike Vrabel because he's still the coach. He's still the same person. You have a job to do. Do your job. Do the job that Mike Vrabel tells you to do, no matter if he's the GM, no matter if he's the coach, whether he's the assistant coach, whatever he is. You just do your job. But I do think it's interesting. Charles Robinson said, sometimes it can mess with a locker room. I think it's interesting when we approach that line of thinking or that perspective with the Kevin Byard situation. Kevin Byard was approached by Rand Carthon. Rand Carthon asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut. Kevin Byard said no. That was 2 months ago. Fast forward to this week, Kevin Byard is not present at OTAs. Maybe it's nothing, but Kevin Byard is always the guy that's there. He always shows up. He always does the right thing. So it might be nothing, but it could be Kevin Byard showing, hey, I don't appreciate that you did that. I don't appreciate that I have been the person that is consistently available, that is consistently a leader in the locker room, consistently the person that's doing the right thing. I don't appreciate that you asked me to take less money because I've only done the right thing for this organization.
Yeah, I mean, that always, when a person is still playing at a fairly high level, or they're still, their drop off hasn't been much. And in Kevin Byard's case, that's his drop off, hasn't been much. It hasn't been as noticeable. Because he's still one of the best safeties out there. So when you feel as a player, like, listen, I'm doing everything that I can, and I'm still one of the better safeties in the National Football League. I'm still a leader on this team. I'm still one of the best players on this team. And you come to me and ask me for a pay cut, that sort of hits you different because, especially if you didn't see it coming. But if you understand... Again, if you understand the business aspect of it, it was going to happen sooner or later, whether it was this year or next year. They're either are going to want you to pick a pay cut if you're making a lot of money, or B, they're going to cut you. You can't take any of it personal. It's the business. Do you like it? No, you don't. Who likes being fired? Who likes
business?
Who likes being cut? Who likes saying, hey, you need to take a reduction in your pay, this year? No one loves that. But if you understand it's a business and it has nothing to do with you personally, it's just the business side of sports, then you're able to move on quickly. And I believe, or I want to believe, that Kevin Byard is that guy. Like, okay, I don't want to take a pay cut. I shouldn't have to take a pay cut because of anybody on this team. I've been the guy that's been out here on the field every week.
Totally.
So why should I have to take a pay cut? But I also know that it's a business. It's not personal. I know Vrabel wants me on his team. I know Rand Carthon wants me on his team. Why? Because he asked me to take a pay cut. He didn't say we're cutting you. Now, ultimately, they're going to have to do something here or there, but they're trying to find concessions before I have to do the ultimate. We want Kevin here, so we got to try to find another way to keep him on the ball club. Now, if he doesn't want to take a pay cut, then it makes it harder for us. And it has nothing to do with him personally.
I don't think it has a single thing to do with him personally. I don't think that there's a single person within that organization that could say a single breath of a bad thing about Kevin Byard. I don't even know if there is a bad thing to say about Kevin Byard. But if he is frustrated with Rand Carthon asking him for a pay cut, I don't blame him in the slightest. I wouldn't appreciate that conversation. I wouldn't handle that very well if I was doing everything that I was expected to do and still performing at a high level and was still asked to take a pay cut, business side of it or not. So I do wonder, as we kind of frame this in the conversation that Joe Rexrode and Charles Robinson had this morning, let's say Kevin Byard is pissed, absolutely irate, so mad at the organization. I'm not saying he is. I don't think that he is, but let's just say that. If and when Kevin Byard comes back within the building, mandatory mini camp, training camp, whenever he needs to be there, how much of that animosity could be geared toward Mike Vrabel? Because now Mike Vrabel has say in the GMing side of things. Now Mike Vrabel has a larger representation when the business decisions are needed to be made. And Kevin Byard is different. I understand Kevin Byard can probably understand things a little bit more than maybe other players, just because he's different.
Well, I think once you, whether it's Kevin Byard, whether it's Ryan Tannehill, okay, for instance, look at Ryan Tannehill. The last 2 years, what has been swirling over his head? Trades, pay cuts,
drafting two quarterbacks in the last two drafts.
All of this stuff has been going on. Does it seem like Ryan Tannehill has any animosity toward the club? It doesn't.
No,
He's just going out there. Why? Because he's a veteran player. Mm-hmm. He's not a first-year player, not a second-year player.
He gets the business.
Not a third-year player. He's not a guy working on a contract. He understands the business side of it. He understands that, hey, at the end of the day, I got to go out there and perform. And if I don't, then I understand what the consequences will be. If I do, I still understand as I get in age what the consequences will be. Kevin Byard is in that same boat. That's why if Kevin Byard was a third-year person, I would be sitting here probably, singing a different tune.
Yeah.
Because the immaturity, I believe, would be there as far as learning the business.
Yeah,
you got to learn some things. Go through some things. Go through contract negotiations back and forth. Well, Ryan Tannehill has done that twice, maybe 3 times. Kevin Byard has done it twice. They understand the business side of it.
Yeah.
So I would just assume, I don't want to, 100% speak for Kevin Byard, but I would assume that because he's been in this business long enough, he's been in this sport long enough, that he understands that it's a sport on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday, it's a business. Mm-hmm. And things happen on those days that don't happen on a Sunday. So I get it. Again, I can only assume this is what Kevin Byard is thinking. Like, he's not taking offense to it. He understands that it happened. Does he like it? Does anybody like when they ask me? No, he doesn't like it. But like Ryan Tannehill, he accepts it, but he understands that as a professional, as a pro, he's still got to go out and do his job.
And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I want to agree with you, just knowing the kind of person and player that Kevin Byard is. He is always team first.
Well, Kevin is not going to tell you any different.
He's not going to tell you any different.
When he comes into camp.
And that's the thing. We're not
and
going to
they're going to ask him, and he's going to say what he's supposed to say.
He's going to say, I talked to Vrabel.
Yeah, I'm good. We're good.
Saw him at the golf course.
Yeah.
It is a bit of a red flag to me that he isn't there. Maybe it's something as simple as, look, you asked me to take a pay cut, then I'm not going to continue to do the things that I'm not required to do. Okay? Like, that's just is what it is. But it also, the other side of it could be, I'm really mad and I want out. And I don't know if that's the case with Kevin Byard. I don't know. We don't know. And that's the uneasy feeling about it is. It could be something as simple as, look, spend time with his family. It could be something as intense as, I'm ready to move on from this organization.
Listen, I've experienced it all. I've experienced being cut. I've experienced being cut twice.
It's not a fun thing,
being
I'm
cut
sure.
3 times. I've experienced being fired. But in all of that, in the moment, yeah, you're upset because of what's happening. It's right. Changing your life moving forward. It may not change it a lot, but it's changing what you're used to doing. So I may be upset at the moment, but after that, I as an adult and as a person that has been through all of this, you realize that, okay, it was a business deal. Mm-hmm. They still like me as a person because I didn't give them no reason not to like me as a person.
Right.
But it's a business deal. It's an understanding, Why do you think, still good, still have a good relationship with people in this building? Because it's what I show them every day, regardless of what happened years ago.
Right.
I was upset at the moment, but I understood and was able to move on. But still keep that relationship intact. And I'm sure that's what Ryan Tannehill is thinking and Kevin Byard is thinking. That's why I can, walk into say Baltimore like I did and talk with Ozzie and talk with John. I can still talk with certain people here in Nashville at the facility because it's like I understand why they had to do what they had to do. I didn't keep it personal. I joked with Floyd a lot. I joke with Floyd a lot. But deep down, it was like I had forgiven him for that stuff a long time ago. You know?
I think you get to a certain point where you understand it.
You just understand it.
In the moment, though.
In the moment, you're upset.
You're upset, and I
totally
get that. Ray is on the line with a question for D-Mase. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. What's up, Ray?
Hey, guys. Thanks very much. D-Mase, do you agree with this statement? A true leader puts the team ahead of himself. I mean, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm so confused. I love Kevin Byard. I think it was ridiculous that they asked him of all players for a pay cut, and I think he had the right to tell him to stick it. I'm not doing it. But here's my question. So they asked him for the pay cut. He said no. Why is this a thing now? What I've heard is he knows this is hurting the team. He knows that these young players need to see his example. And what they're seeing, D-Mase, is not, hey, they asked me for a pay cut. I said no, it's over, let's play some football. What they're seeing is if you don't like what happens, you throw a hissy fit and punish the team. And I just can't, I don't get that from Kevin Byard. That's why I'm so confused about, if it's nothing, great. But if he's making a point, I just don't get it.
Thanks for your call, Ray.
Thanks for your call, Ray. I'll quickly, because we got to get to break. I think the players give grace. So you look at it from standpoint, that's his business. I'm not getting in his business. Whatever's going on, I know that Kevin will be here. If he's on the team, he will be here eventually. Again, OT, as long as he's communicated with Mike Vrabel and Shane Bourne and his defensive back coach, then okay, I'm fine with it. That's whether he had contract issues or not. As long as you've communicated that with Vrabes, then we're good. It seems like Vrabel's not making a big deal. I know he probably wants him here, but if he's communicated that with Vrabel, like, okay, whatever he said, this is why I'm not coming, whatever he said. And we understand how Vrabel feels about players and contracts and all. Look what he did for Jeffrey Simmons last year.
Yeah, Jeffrey Simmons just did his own thing in the sand pit on the side.
And what did Vrabel say? We have a program for him.
Right.
We got something in place for Jeffrey. Don't worry about him. Because he understands. Same way with Byard, I guarantee you.
And Byard, it would not be the first player in the history of the NFL to not come to OTAs because maybe disgruntled with the team. Maybe there are questions about the next steps moving forward with how the Titans want to handle the amount of money that he is due. Maybe it's the Titans telling him, hey, look, we got to figure some things out on our end. Don't come. We don't want you to get injured because we're figuring stuff out. So you just stay put until we give you the green light. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to blame Kevin Byard because I understand if he is upset or disgruntled with the team, I understand where that is coming from. The biggest thing for me is, what's going on? Because something's going on, and I want to know what it is. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's get into your calls and texts. We've got a bunch of your thoughts lining up. We'll get into those coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
1025 and 1063 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robbie and Rexroad.
Yeah, you take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game.
Sounds Baseball is back. Catch the action at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Chicago Cubs affiliate. Throwback Thursday returns as the Sounds wear their classic 1978 throwback uniforms and you enjoy drink specials all night. For tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
In football, we all take our hits,
but protection keeps you in the game. That's why I always wore a helmet and pads on the field. Life too comes with risk, so I got vaccinated and boosted for COVID-19. Hi, this is former Tennessee Titan running back and 3-time Pro Bowler Chris Johnson. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19.
For more information, go to nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
CMA Fest is happening in downtown Nashville, June 8th through 11th, with dozens of performances by many of today's hottest black country artists, including K. Michelle, Chapel Hart, the TSU Aristocratic Bands, Breland, and many more. Proceeds benefit the CMA Foundation and music education programs. Visit CMAfest.com for details.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Hey, this is Jordan Rogers, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and The Game at Nashville app. We'll chat with Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, the 32 Thoughts podcast, in 30 minutes. And hey, this week's Nashville's best deal is Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon Water Park. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals for a buy one, get one free admission for just $44.99. Beach Bend Park is your ticket to summer fun. Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon Water Park, just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. D-Mase, unless you have a thought?
Let's go to the phone.
Let's get to the phones. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you have a thought. Jared in Dixon texts in and says, the response makes me wonder if Kevin Byard's frustration has carried on and may still be frustrated in the back of his mind. And then when you put the whipped cream on top with asking for a pay cut.
I mean, again, it's tough to say. I'm not going to solely tie this to him taking a pay cut. And I know it's people say, well, it's a damn coincidence that they asked him to take a pay cut and then he's not here for OTAs.
Awfully fishy.
Yeah. So, I mean, if this was something mandatory, that's when I think people need to worry. When it becomes mandatory, and if he's not here when it becomes mandatory, I think that's when one or two things have occurred. Either, really honestly one thing, but it can sort of lead into two things. Either, he's upset about the idea of having to take a pay cut, not upset with the Titans, but upset at the idea of having to take a pay cut, and the potential of not being here, the potential of being traded. Because I don't think they will let him go, just like cutting. Mm-hmm. I think it would have to be a trade. So maybe the organization isn't pushing it as much because, they are potentially looking for a trade partner. So if I don't push him coming into the building and, he's not going to come, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. If I make a big deal out of it, then he comes in. If we're trying to trade him, he comes in and get hurt. Now we're stuck with it. So we're stuck with the contract. So
yeah, if he gets hurt, that contract's fully guaranteed.
Exactly. So I'm not going to make a big deal about it. Maybe I don't like it, but I'm not going to make a big deal about it because we have something else sort of, going on that we're trying to accomplish if we can't get him to lower that cap number. So once things start to become mandatory, if he's not here, I think that's when people need to start to get worried, because again, it's voluntary now, and I know because of with the track record he has said already that he's been all of these voluntary things. Majority of even Vrabel said there were some days he wasn't here and it was a voluntary. He wasn't here, and obviously he communicated that with Vrabel, and so they went on. But it's gotten so much headwind because of them asking him to take a pay cut. And so he don't show up at OTAs. Now people are wondering, is he not showing up because he's mad and disgruntled? he don't want to be around, or they don't want to go to the other alternative and say, well, maybe he just talked to Vrabel and he's getting older as a veteran and, he's not here. Just like Ryan Tannehill wasn't here for some of the OTAs last year.
And that was a problem.
But he ended up really not being a problem. It was only a problem because of the comments he made, in regards to Willis.
And the Instagram photo.
Exactly, Instagram photo. So
on his boat.
But when it came down to it, it wasn't really a problem. Once he got here, it was fine. He was like, I'm here doing what I need to do, whatever. I just had to be at home to take care of some things. Now, whether we accepted that, because I'm not going to call it an excuse, because it was real. Whether we accept what he was doing or not, it was the truth, what he was doing. And obviously, he communicated that with Vrabel. And the same thing with Kevin Byard. As long as he's communicated that with Vrabel, then, I don't know. It's okay, I guess.
Tannehill was renovating his house.
Yeah, he had to. That's a big house.
How could we expect him to show up to OTAs?
That's a big house. He had a hammer in one hand and a nail in the other. Yeah, he couldn't throw a football, okay?
It was a DIY project. He couldn't afford to hire someone.
Exactly. There you go, man.
Yeah, sorry. I hope that your bathroom floors look great, Ryan. How much was it a red flag to you that the Titans were playing Elijah Molden at safety in OTAs?
Not a big problem. They had to play somebody at safety at OTAs. So they had to.
Are they grooming him for the safety position?
I don't know. I would be, if I was them, I would be trying to groom Caleb Farley too at the safety position.
Oh boy, don't get me started. Kenny the mailman is on the line. What's up, Kenny?
Good afternoon, one and all. How are y'all doing?
Doing good.
Derek, you're an expert on this. I'm going to lean on you heavily.
Okay.
We've already, had a couple of calls that they just don't understand why isn't this 100% behind the team? Why don't we do this, that, and this and that? I think as a player, you can speak to this. If you want to be a leader of the players, you can't be seen as 100% management because some of the decisions do upset the players. And to be a leader of the player, you got to have their back. If you remember, you might have to help me with the names. I believe it was the first year we were here in Memphis. Wasn't there a really good linebacker named Randall Godfrey who had earned a contract? They promised it, wound up cutting him, and it really, really ticked off a lot of players on the team. Wasn't that right?
Yeah, we were already here, and I think we had already been in the stadium by then when Randall Godfrey, if I'm not mistaken. But you're right about the timeline. It was somewhere around there. And I could remember that morning right before we went out, Randall was coming from down. He went upstairs. I guess he said the principal's office, but he went upstairs. And it was sort of like the Kevin Byard thing. Asked to take a pay cut, lower the salary cap. Whether I think he did or didn't, or agreed to it or didn't, I don't know, but he ended up subsequently getting cut. And it sort of was blindside to all the guys, because no one saw this coming, because Randall had been playing great. Mm-hmm. He was one of our leaders on defense. And that defense excelled with him on the field. And it just came out of nowhere for us. Now, upper management, Floyd and Jeff, they may have been thinking about this for a while. But for us as players, this was one of the guys that we leaned on, that showed he was a player, he was leader for this team. And it sort of hit us out of nowhere. And guys were upset. Like, visibly, guys were upset. Even as we walked on the field, every coach, head coach, everybody knew that the guys were upset, especially the core guys were upset, because it was like, how can you do that to him? He's been doing everything that you've asked him to do. Now, Randall did deal with some injuries here and there, but he was a player, and guys were upset when he got cut.
You didn't think I remember that, did you?
No.
I go way back. It's a lesson I learned. You don't have to bite anybody, but once every 2 or 3 years, you better bark just to let people know you can bark back, or you'll get run over. Listen, great talking to you today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kenny. I mean, if the Titans do decide to move on from Kevin Byard, let's say are at a crossroads, which was the last that we've really heard from this, which has been 2 months since Rand Carthon asked him to take a pay cut. If they're still at a crossroads and they can't get away from this crossroads and get to an agreement, which I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Do you think that locker room is going to be really upset?
Yeah.
That's their guy.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. But just like anything else, as time starts to get further away from that moment, you have to settle in. You hate that he's gone, but you can't allow that to sort of, cripple your season or cripple your progress on what you're trying to get accomplished. Yes, we hate it that, if a guy like Kevin Byard isn't with the team, but he can't play 100 years.
Right.
He's not Benjamin Button here, okay? He's not getting younger.
But there is a difference between retiring and we got to cut you because we can't afford you. And while it would hurt, and I think a whole lot of guys in the locker room would say, this sucks, move on. I think that's lesson for some of these young guys. That's your lesson as a rookie or second year, whatever it might be. This is a business, and sometimes it sucks. But let's have some fun coming up next.
All right.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You enjoy the thrill of gambling, but what happens when it becomes a problem? Whether you want to cut back or quit gambling altogether, the Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling for over 2 decades. We're here to help, not to judge. The Gambling Clinic is a Tennessee-based clinic offering in-person and telehealth support to help people win back their life. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willy Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Beach Bend Park and Splash Lagoon. Big park, bigger fun, and big savings with buy one, get one free admission. 2 parks, 2 tickets for the price of 1 while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Beach Bend Park, where parking, tubes, and sunscreen are always free. Your ticket to summer fun and just a short drive to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Get your BOGO deal while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Hi, we're Comparion Insurance Agency. Right now you're thinking, Comparion, never heard of them. We know. We also know that you have no idea that Comparion Insurance agents are local and provide expert advice. So to help it stick, we're going to say local agent 4 times in the next 15 seconds. Ready? Go. Our local agents know you and your community. Our local agents offer insurance from top carriers. Our local agents have minty fresh breath.
Find us at ComparionInsurance.com. Comparion Insurance Agency. Local agents, expert advice.
And there's number 4.
Bon appetit.
Take some Titans.
Derrick Henry.
Some Preds.
Roman Yossi.
Even some hoops.
Light fires. Wow.
Put it in a blender. And what do you have? Chase and Michelle.
Pretty incredible.
Call or text and weigh in.
The fastest 2 hours in sports radio. Weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Let's have a little bit of fun. On the round of Would You Rather, we do it every single Thursday. I am in the questions chair this week. So D-Mase Nick, staff member Nick.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Sports or non-sports?
Non-sports.
Let's do it.
Non-sports. Okay, first question for you in the non-sports category. Would you rather sing your favorite song in front of a sold-out arena? The crowd goes wild. Or in front of the artist of that favorite song alone?
Oh, man. Gosh, you know what? I think unless, if I knew the song by heart, and it wouldn't be a song like a ballad, like I got to sing, like show my vocal cords.
Like Tina Turner, rest in peace to a legend.
Rest in peace. It would be something that, either rap or something that I can sort of, just vibe with the beat and just kind of say the words. So I would rather do it in front of a sold out crowd, me, than the artist, because the artist looks at you like, seriously?
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? Like,
wrong note.
Like, I didn't say that, But I would rather do it in front of a crowd, because I think you can. I don't know. Just for me, I would rather do it in front of a crowd.
Okay, all right. I think that's fair, person. Derek. Now, I'm not a singer. I don't want to be a singer. But if I ever picked a song that I like, then I'd probably sing it in front of the artist because, I'm fine with a crowd. I'm fine with that. I've played in front of crowds. I've been in front of a large group of people. I've spoken in college and classes, but, singing-wise, I'd rather just be coached through a song, Derek, maybe, and then be told, oh, well, hey, maybe do it better this way. But I don't know. I would rather do a one-on-one, and then maybe it be something I master maybe at some point. I don't know.
Not just a reporter, not just a staff member, but Singer Nick.
Singer Nick.
Singer Nick. Singer Nick. I think I'm with you, D-Mase. I think I'd rather do it in front of a crowd. I mean, how cool. All of the, adrenaline, how exhilarating.
Exactly.
Your favorite song in front of a sold-out crowd.
Just sing it.
Pretty
go with
cool.
it. It's just, I don't, because if the beat is playing and all this other stuff, you ain't got to try to sing the song.
Right. Everyone's singing with you.
They vibing with you because they feel it. I don't know if the artist will vibe with you.
I can live out my pop star dreams.
Exactly. There we go.
Okay, let's do a sports question before we get into non-sports. Would you rather have Joe Burrow with the Titans wide receiver core, Traylon Burks and Jabroni and company, or Ryan Tannehill with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins?
Oh, so the flipped role.
A little flipped role. Joe Burrow in a Titans uniform versus Ryan Tannehill in a Bengals uniform.
Gosh.
Now, is this to play out the rest of their career? Because I know that we have little caveats with these.
Don't think too much into it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
just off the top of the head.
Either we're bringing Burrow here or we bringing his receivers here.
No, you're just flipping the quarterbacks.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yes. So it's
because if
Ryan
that's the
Tannehill,
case,
T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase versus Joe Burrow, Traylon Burks, Nick Westbrook Akine, Chris Moore. Yeah.
Okay. Because if it was, I don't want to see Ryan Tannehill with those guys on the Cincinnati Bengals because it's not doing anything for me. Now, if you say, well,
it's more hypothetical.
Yeah, if you get Burrow on this team with these receivers, or Ryan Tannehill on this team with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, I'm taking T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase, and Ryan Tannehill with Derrick Henry in the backfield. I'm taking that. I'm taking that.
I'm gonna flip Derek. I would rather go with Joe Burrow. I think he could step up. But yeah, I think that's a little interesting, Caroline, because you have to think of how can he gel one, and then the other thing is how can he use his talent to win the games too. And so that's tough. But I would really lean toward Joe Burrow in this one situation.
But here's why I wouldn't lean with Joe Burrow. We saw what Aaron Rodgers wasn't able to do without
with a pass catching core,
with a bad pass, and his wasn't even that bad. It's just he didn't have enough. We saw what he couldn't do. We've seen, what other, great quarterbacks ultimately end up great quarterbacks if they didn't have those pass catchers. they couldn't truly elevate them to a championship. I think with Ryan Tannehill's skill set, his knowledge of the game, him being a veteran, him being a good quarterback, he can lead with that group of guys. He can lead with that defense. He can lead a team to a Super Bowl, a la Tampa Bay Buccaneers some years ago when they won with Keenan McCardle, Keyshawn Johnson, really good run game, hell of a defense. The quarterback was basically a journeyman. Who was it? Doug Johnson, somewhere. It was one of the Johnsons, I believe. But he wasn't a great quarterback. But he had guys around him. They had a great defense. They ultimately ended up winning a Super Bowl, led by Warren Sapp on that defense and Derek. What's Derek's last name? The linebacker for Tampa, Hall of Fame now. I forget his last name. Derek Brooks. You can do that with a quarterback with a good quarterback, really good quarterback, but some good pieces around him, than to have that great quarterback and no pieces around him.
We've seen it so many times before. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer. They weren't bad quarterbacks, but they weren't elite quarterbacks. So I have to go with Derek again on this one, which is shocking that I choose the option that's not Joe Burrow in this situation. But I think that your quarterback can only be Superman to a certain extent. So I would take Ryan Tannehill with those pieces around him. You can absolutely win a Super Bowl with that. I do think Joe Burrow is a Superman enough that even whoever's around him, he's still going to make magic happen. But we saw what he looked like in that first year in the league, which, of course, I know he tore his ACL late in the season, which rookie year, he got a lot to figure it out. But before Jamar Chase came into the mix, that Bengals team did not look even close to what the Bengals team looks like now. So I think with those pieces and insert a solid quarterback, good, not great, good, not elite, you can do a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's get into another non-sports question. Would you rather have everyone know, or have everyone have the ability to be able to read your mind, know your thoughts, or everyone in the world has the ability to have access to your internet history? Can't delete anything.
Have my internet history. Have it.
Really?
Yeah, but you ain't reading my thoughts, man. I can't, because you might, people think about the craziest things. Not that they act on them.
Sure.
But people think about the craziest things and the things that are like, man, if you really think about, you really feel that way about me? I would rather just go ahead and look at my browser. Go ahead, have at it.
Well, Derek, if you were still playing in the NFL, that'd be a really easy answer for you, I feel like.
Yeah, if I was still playing. But then, I don't know. See, that's a tough one. But right now where I sit, have at my browser.
That's how I feel. My browser is not very that interesting.
Yeah,
it's a whole lot of research for the show, and I have a headache. Do I have osteosarcoma? Things like that.
You go to the extreme.
I go to WebMD. Yeah, it's I have a pain in my side. Is it simply just because I haven't drank enough water today, or do I have appendicitis?
Oh my gosh!
Man, you go down that rabbit hole, boy.
These are the real pressing questions.
Nothing interesting.
You think you only got 3 days left on this earth?
Start calling all of my loved ones. It could just be a stomach ache.
Yeah.
Or it could be something else.
Oh my gosh.
I have an ulcer.
Oh my goodness.
What is your
Yeah,
take
I would
on
rather
this, member?
I'd rather do the search history. I don't think it's going to be that crazy.
And if you don't choose search history, then what the heck are you looking up?
Yeah, I just say look at my browser. Go ahead.
Have at it. Yeah. Have at it. Last sports question for y'all.
Real quick, let's go.
Would you rather win multiple MVPs and no Super Bowls, or a Super Bowl as kind of a non-star?
So Trent Dilfer, basically.
Man. Trent Dilfer.
He was a quarterback of that team.
Sure,
but a guy, a backup defensive lineman on the Chiefs.
I would say maybe for the sake of the legacy, maybe winning the MVPs, because then you're going to have that gold jacket, but then you won't have the championship, which is kind of tough. Yeah. But I would lean maybe just a smidge there.
Yeah, because if I'm a backup on a Super Bowl winning team,
practice squad
or something like that, my years in that sport or in the NFL won't be that long. I take it. But if I'm a multiple-time MVP, which means I got a long career, I may have went to the Super Bowl but didn't win it. So I'm basically Dan Marino.
Yeah.
I take it.
Yeah, would you rather be Dan Marino or insert no name who was on the Chiefs practice squad last year? I think I agree. I'd rather be an MVP, but man,
MVP,
oh man, would that haunt
multiple-time
you
MVP,
and bug you for the rest of your life that you don't have that ring?
You'd be Charles Barkley.
Dan Marino, but not bad to be Dan Marino or Charles Barkley.
Heck no.
Movie stars now.
Mm-hmm.
That was Would You Rather. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. We will chat with Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts and the 32 Thoughts podcast and of Sportsnet coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for our huge Memorial Weekend trade-in and savings event. This Memorial holiday, bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% bonus trade-in towards the purchase of any new clubs, including all the top brands. Save big on apparel. The more you spend, the more you save. All these great deals and more happening this Memorial Day weekend at Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
Buffalo Bill's Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's east entrance. 5 museums in one, including a wonderful Plains Indian Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bill's Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keiser. The Florida Panthers are heading back to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 1996. It was a back-and-forth effort all night long as the Hurricanes were trying to avoid elimination. Here's the game winner on the Panthers Radio Network.
Barkov right circle, down to the goal line, Kachuk in front of shot. He scores! He scores! He scores! Matthew Kachuk, a power play goal! It's 4-3 Panthers with 4.3 seconds to go in regulation time.
And now the Miami Heat can wrap up the Eastern Conference Final tonight in the NBA. And if the Heat win, they'll take on the Denver Nuggets for the championship. And the Nashville Sounds took down the Iowa Cubs 13-2 last night in a hit parade. They'll be back in action tonight at 6:20 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
Oh, man, yes, he scored!
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It was pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios. Streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook Sports. And joining us now is Elliot Friedman of the 32 Thoughts podcast and of Sportsnet. Elliot, always appreciate our sit-downs with you on Thursdays. And I will kick it off with my weekly question. I hope you came prepared. I know you did. Update on the coach.
Yeah, Carolyn, I do my research because I know it's like a homework assignment, right? You better be ready, or else you're getting a D-, and I got too many D- already. I don't need any more. I think, Carolyn, we're going to know one way or the other pretty soon. I don't know if it'll be before the weekend. I know it's a long weekend in the States. I don't know if it'll be before that, but I think we're going to have our answer one way or the other. I do think the Predators have at least looked into some things. I think it would be wrong of me to say I know the answer one way or the other because I don't. But I think they've looked at some things, and I think we're going to get an answer one way or the other pretty soon.
Do you know what they've looked at? What those things may have been?
I don't specifically know, but I think they look. I think it's fair to say that Barry Trotz looked at what might else be out there, and if any of that appealed to him. But I don't know if they've actually interviewed anyone. I don't know that they've done that, but I think that they've surveyed. I think the best way for me to put it is they've surveyed the landscape to see what could be out there.
Dipped their toes in the water, so to speak. Elliot
Yeah,
Friedman.
I think it's like I don't know that they're doing anything, but I think I think that's a good way. I think they said, if we want to do it, what could be open to us?
Elliot Friedman is with us, 32 Thoughts podcast and of Sportsnet. And if we live in the world of if the Titans, the Predators do decide to move on from John Hines. I know we talked about Spencer Carberry this past week. That's been a name that's been thrown around a lot around these parts of a really hot coach and name on the market. Another name that we've talked a good bit about is Carl Taylor, the head coach of the Milwaukee Admirals. Had a lot of success in Milwaukee, obviously groomed those players to be able to come up to the next level and have a good bit of success at the end of this past season. But I think the thought, or maybe the hesitation there, is going from the AHL to the NHL might be a big step when even playing in a certain system, in this John Hines system for so long, it might be too big of a step to go from AHL to NHL head coach. What's your philosophy on that, from promoting coaches from the lower level to the highest level of hockey?
I don't agree with that thinking flat out, Carolyn. At one point in time, the greatest coach in Predators history, Barry Trotz, was an AHL head coach. Yeah. And someone had to give him a chance. I would say more than anything else, honestly, is that if any organization should know if Carl Taylor's ready, it's the Predators. I mean, they've had him there for a while. The one reason I've kind of thought that maybe he might be a guy who they look at is that there are going to be players on this team next year, starting with Ovechkin, who he knows really well. And if you guys are going to get back into the playoffs, a guy like Tommy Novak's going to be a big part of it. And who knows him better than Carl Taylor? So I think that I would think that I would think that if you think the guy's ready and you think he's the best guy, then you should hire him. Because there are lots of coaches who've gone from the American Hockey League to the NHL and have been very successful. So I wouldn't rule him out for the theory that you put forth there.
Elliot, we saw the hit that Jamie Benn had the other day. Subsequently, he was suspended for 2 games. Are you in agreement with that suspension?
I was actually surprised. I thought it would be 1. First of all, I'm never going to disagree, Derek, with a suspension where a guy made a play like that. I'm not. I think if any of us were surprised by anything, basically, Derek, they weigh it. Like a 1-game suspension, like Brian Burke, who I have worked with, he used to do that job in the NHL, and he talked about the playoffs having a multiplier. Like if you got suspended in the first round for 1 game, that was like 2 regular season games. And he kind of would look at it like every round you added a game to that. If you got suspended in the second round, it was 3 regular season games. So basically, if you use Brian's math, and to be honest, it's been a while since Brian's done this job, basically that's like an 8-game suspension. And, last round, Alex Pietrangelo of Vegas got 1 game for a pretty vicious slash on one of the game's best players. The other thing, too, that was interesting about this one, Derek, is it happened with 58 minutes to go, and the player that he cross-checked, Mark Stone, thankfully he was not injured. He played. And in a lot of cases I've seen, the league will say, hey, he sat out for 58 minutes, the guy wasn't hurt, we're good. When he got the hearing, I thought he was going to get 1. I was surprised he got 2, but I don't think anybody's going to argue with that kind of play getting a harsh suspension. I think, I like a good, tough, mean game, but there's no room for that. We just don't need it.
Yeah, you're right about that. I saw that, and honestly, I thought it would be possibly more considering him being who he was, and it sort of was it a frustration penalty or whatnot, but it just seemed like it was totally out of left field and out of sort of who he is as a player, and for him to do something like that, I thought not only would the league suspend him, for a game, but multiple games if indeed that series went a little bit further, which I don't expect it to go, seeing the situation that they're in. Now, Sergei Bobrovsky, this is a guy that got benched, but now he's playing. He's been one of the sole reasons why the Panthers are where they are. He played lights out yesterday. He ended up giving up 3 goals, but they ended up winning 4-3 to end that series. What do you think was a change for him?
Well, I think there's a couple of things there. Like he in the past, Derek, has been a hell of a goalie. Like, this is a guy who's won the Vezina Trophy as the league's top goalie. This is a guy who was the backbone of a team. On some level, I think if it was the pressure of his contract, like he signed a 7-year deal at $70 million, and like it was a big front-loaded contract, and like there was like that's a big ticket. And part of me wondered if he either didn't have the edge anymore or he crumbled underneath the pressure of it a little bit. Like, for a long time, like he was not living up to this end of the contract. Now, the other thing about Bobrovsky that's really interesting is I don't know if you guys have seen any pictures of him. There have been some pictures of him on the internet. Like, for example, when they knocked out Toronto, they gave him whatever that team trophy is for player of the game. He's really skinny. Like he's like I'm not as fat as I used to be, but he's like half the size of me. And I've heard that's a thing. Like the Panthers have realized that if he plays 8 or 9 games in a row, he can't handle it. He gets dehydrated, and as a result, he's very strict about what he puts into his body. Like, the question is not how he takes care of himself. It's he takes care of himself very well. He just can't handle the workload. And I think one of the things that's happened in these playoffs is, A, he's rediscovered his form. Like, he can be this good. But B, they've never had to play him a ton in a row without a lot of rest. And now, again, they're going to get rest before the Stanley Cup final. So, like, I think he's for whatever reason, he's rediscovered his form. He's back again being the Bobrovsky we know he can be. But secondly, the workload hasn't been so ridiculous that you worry about him getting worn down. And I think those two factors to mix together have brought him back to an incredible spot. Because you're right. Like, I don't think he's the only reason, but he's the main reason. And he's been the best player in the playoffs.
Sportsnet's 32 Thoughts, the podcast. Elliot Friedman is with us. So, Elliot, we just figured out that the NHL Players Association, or the NHLPA, for people who don't know what that is, will review that Kyle Dubas' relationship with his agent, Wasserman Hockey. That's who he's with. In that organization now. What do you make of what's happening up there right now, Elliot?
Well, it's been a crazy story. Like, up until 5 days before he was fired, Nick, we thought he was coming back, and they were in negotiations for him to come back. I think even the person who fired him, the president there, Brendan Shanahan, he thought Dubas was coming back. And then Dubas held a media conference where he kind of talked about, a bit of burnout or how it was affecting his family. And Shanahan admitted that he kind of worried that maybe Dubas needed a break or he wasn't all in. And then we've heard Shanahan's side of it. We haven't heard Dubas' side to any real depth about a contract negotiation that, Shanahan said he changed the terms at the end, and Dubas used the word consistent in his statement, which would seem to be him disputing that, but we just don't know. Like, there's two narratives. It's like a breakup, right? There's one side, the other side, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. But it shocked everybody here, and people took a lot of sides, and there was a lot of nastiness that came out, about that story. So basically, the way it works is, in the NHL, if you're a certified agent, you cannot represent players and either coaches or managers. And that's decreed. Now, the agency that Dubas is represented by is called Wasserman. Among their biggest clients are Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and some guy you may be familiar with who wears number 59. His last name is Yossi. I think you guys know him a little bit. And Dubas is represented by another agent at the firm who does not represent hockey players and is not certified to represent hockey players. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about the agent business, but it is nasty. And I think there are some agents who are upset about this. They think it's against the spirit of the rules. However, from what I understand, it's not against the written rules. And we'll see if they make a change to it. But that's kind of where the story is. But there's been a lot of shock here. People have really picked sides. It's been, it's like the Dallas Cowboys up here, right? Like nobody's neutral. Everybody's got a side, and it's nasty. And, eventually we're going to move on. Dubas is looking at Pittsburgh and maybe Ottawa, depending on how the sale goes. And the Leafs have started interviews for their position. So at some point in time, we'll go on to the next story full of hysteria.
Last one for you, Elliot. Looking at the Florida Panthers, what about this team? A team that just kind of barely squeaked into the playoffs, a team that took down the big bad Boston Bruins in round one. What do you think makes them a championship team? I don't want to act like they're some, ho-hum little team. They just won the President's Trophy this past season. But this year, this regular season was not as good of a regular season that the Florida Panthers had this past year. So what about this team has catapulted them to the Stanley Cup final?
Well, Derek asked about the first one, and that's the goalie. The goalie, like anytime you have a goalie saving like between 95 and 97% of shots, you're in a really good place. But the second thing is they play with great structure and they're nasty. The NHL is 2 seasons, the regular season and the playoffs. And people argue that the officiating changes. I disagree with that. I think the players change. You can't play 82 games in the regular season like you play 28 in the playoffs. And the 28 in the playoffs are not for the faint of heart. And that's a tough team, a disciplined team in terms of the structure they play, and they play hard. And I think if you have great goaltending and you have talent, depth, and a willingness to play hard, you have a chance. And, Florida's got all of that. I think they were a little thin depth-wise, Carolyn, but they've had lower players on the roster make big plays, like Lomberg scoring that goal last night. But I just think they're disciplined and they're tough. And you can win with that in this league.
Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts Podcast and Sportsnet. Appreciate you as always, Elliot. I will ask you about the coach next week.
I'm hoping that one way or another we know the answer, Carolyn.
Thank you, Elliot.
I go to bed at night and my head's like, Carolyn's going to ask you about the coach. You better be ready for this. So
I
I'll
hope
be
that
ready
I'm not seeping into your dreams and I'm not keeping you awake at night. But this is serious business now, Elliot. Talk about the coach. I appreciate you, Elliot. Thank you so much.
Have a great Memorial Day weekend, everyone. Take care.
You do the same.
Thank you. Have a good one, Elliot. Elliot Friedman, he is the very best. We'll get into some of your thoughts on this coming up next. Plus, some things that I heard at Titans OTAs earlier this week. What do we make of it? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays. All the big stories.
If you're not ready to play in this league, you will lose. I don't care who you're playing.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Because I love the sport.
We played the way we needed to.
Why would he make that move?
360, he slams it home.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Looking for a big diamond? Genesis Diamonds introduces our Elite Collection, all new for this year. These are large, rare diamonds in the top 1% of the world. 3 carat, 4 carat, 5 carat, up to 10 carat precious diamonds for the most discriminating buyers who appreciate quality. Genesis owners travel worldwide, tapping a vast network of diamond cutters, carefully hand-selecting each of these remarkable diamonds. We invite you to view this premium collection of GIA-certified diamonds, rounds, cushion cuts, emerald bold cuts, even fancy colored diamonds in size and quality never before seen here. And to showcase these exquisite stones, only Genesis has the finest handcrafted rings from all the world-class designers. If this is the year you're upgrading her original diamond, or you just want to go big for the first time, no need to travel to New York or Los Angeles or Antwerp. Genesis Diamonds' elite collection of large, precious diamonds is here in Nashville. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound. The sound of NASCAR.
Start your engine!
The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets for the triple header weekend, including the Ally 400, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200 today.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Iowa Cubs, the AAA affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. The iCubs, I heard they're called, which makes me think of them as like little Apple products.
Yeah.
Like it's a little teeny tiny little, Apple bear, your iCub. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. Appreciate Elliot Friedman for joining us in the last segment. But I wanted to get to this, some things that we heard at OTAs earlier this week. So this is a crucial season for several members of this Tennessee Titans roster. We've talked about Christian Fulton, how this is a crucial year for Christian Fulton. In the final year of his deal, this is a prove-it year for him. Can he stay healthy? Can he contribute to earn that second contract? I think this is also a really, really key year for Malik Willis. I believe that if he can't prove it this year, the Titans are prepped and ready to move on from Malik Willis. They've already drafted the guy that they think is going to be the quarterback of the future. They've already decided that Malik Willis probably isn't going to be that guy. So it's this season, or I don't know what the future holds for Malik Willis. I think this year is key for him.
Yeah, I think it is. I think this is the year he needs to show growth. He needs to show that he is far removed from, what we last saw of him. That he's worked tirelessly to make sure that he's a different quarterback this year than he was last year. What may help him is the new rule by the NFL holding 3 quarterbacks. So that could help his standing on this team. I just want to believe that they're just not going to give up on him after a year. That they're going to give him an opportunity to show that he's, progressed as a quarterback. And I think some of it falls on, I think one reason why they will continue to, show grace to him and hold on to him, because now he has a different quarterbacks coach in Charles London from what it was last year. New OC. The offense is new. So they want to see if he picks everything up, does he look like a different quarterback this year than he did last year? So I don't think they're going to I don't think they've completely washed their hands of Malik Willis. I think they're going to give him an opportunity to show that he can be an asset for this team. Now, we know he's not going to be the starter, and more than likely won't be the backup, but they will give him an opportunity to earn a spot on this roster. And if he does earn the spot on this roster, and they still choose not to, say if they can't keep him because they want to make other moves, well, they give him an opportunity now to go to another team because he's shown and he's earned the spot to be on this team, but because of whatever reason, we can't keep you. So I can't see them cutting him. I see them more so trying to trade him for whatever, or he could be a part of a package deal. I don't know. But I think they're going to give him an opportunity.
And it's up to him.
Yeah, it's up to him. Yeah.
It's up to him to show and to prove that he put in the work, to prove that, hey, I can be better than what I was last year. I'm very much so, I can be excited and encouraged about what you tell me, but show me. Kind of feel the same way about Treylon Burks. Everything that I've heard and seen from him in the offseason, I'm encouraged. I'm excited. Prove it to me on the field.
Yeah, because I don't think he's been, when I'm talking with Malik Willis, because I don't think you only get rid of a person after 1 year, especially a rookie guy, unless he's just like a headache on the team. If, yes, he's not doing what we're asking him to do on the field, and we expect that from a rookie. There's going to be mistakes and all that other stuff, but not only are you doing that, but you're a headache in the locker room too. Nobody really cares for you that much. If that was the case, then I think they would be ready to get rid of him, but I don't think that's the case.
And if I'm Malik Willis, I am so eager to chomp at the bit, to show and to prove in every situation that I put in the work and I'm going to be better this year and I deserve a place on this roster. Malik Willis was asked about what he's been doing in the offseason to get better. Because there was an article that came out a couple months ago. He's been working with this quarterback guru coach that's worked with a bunch of quarterbacks in the past. And they talked about they've been going over situational things. They've been going over mechanics. They've been breaking it down to the core of his footwork and his arm talent. And they've been going all the way up to, situational things, understanding concepts, being able to, break down plays, read defenses. So he's been asked about that. What have you been doing in the offseason? This was Malik Willis.
What kind of stuff have you done this offseason?
A lot, it's been a long offseason. A lot of times since the last game we played.
What is your mindset approaching, this season, knowing, Levis got drafted? It's a big off-season training camp for you. How are you approaching this period?
What does knowing that change, You go to work the same way. It don't matter.
So, who was that? And then can you play that?
Yes. Who was that in the background?
Who was that? Anyways, the crux of that I wanted to get to is asked, what have you been doing in the off-season? Can you play that again, Nick?
What kind of stuff have you done this offseason?
A lot, It's been a long offseason. A lot of times since the last game we played.
Well, come on.
Give us something.
Show me.
Give us something.
Give me something. I've been working on my mechanics, on my footwork every single day. I wake up early and I'm in the gym. I'm in the training room. I'm working with my quarterbacks coach. I've really been focused on these things. I know that I'm kind of nitpicking a media scrum at the end of OTAs, but this is Malik Willis's opportunity to show us and to tell us everything that he's been doing, that he can prove to us that he deserves a spot on this team.
You want me to tell you what the problem is?
Yes.
With him, and I would say anybody in his position, even guys that have accomplished a lot, he's on the defensive. He is. You can tell by the way he answered the question. He's on the defensive, and because in his mind, it wasn't fair that he was put in this situation that he was put in last year, thrown out there with whatever was going on the field. He knew he wasn't ready, but he couldn't sit there and say, Coach, I'm not ready, don't put me in. He knew he wasn't ready, and he expected everybody else, even though I expected a little bit more from him. I think he expected more from himself, but he didn't get, his play didn't warrant us saying, well, he's doing a great job. And I think he was upset at himself that he didn't play well. And he was upset that everybody is sort of looking at this as his defining moment, like this was his career right here. And a little bit of me tells me, like, that's unfair. But sports is not fair. It's either people are going to talk about you no matter what. You do good, people are going to find something to talk about. You do bad, they're going to jump on you even more.
Right.
In his mind, he's thinking it wasn't fair. I didn't get an opportunity to show you who I truly can be as a quarterback. It was a moment in my very, very, very infant career that y'all are taking, and now y'all are saying just because y'all have seen, those 3 games. It was 3 games he played, right? 3.
It's that Chiefs game, the Texans game.
Yeah, I don't count the first one when he came in Buffalo. Throw that out the window.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. The 2 games he actually played, so it was 2.
Chiefs and Houston.
So
plus the preseason.
In his mind, preseason he got better each game in the preseason, which gave a lot of people some like, oh, okay, he might be okay. Yeah, people were encouraged a little bit because they saw him get better each time he played. But he's looking at it. You're taking these 2 games, and you're basing my whole career on 2 games, and I'm still an infant in this game. Y'all know where I came from in college. I'm figuring this out. I get thrown in there, and now everybody's saying I can't play in this league after 2 games. 2 games?
I can't. Bad games.
Yeah, they were bad, but
they were bad games.
I've seen some bad players. Believe me, I've seen some bad players in my time, and they got better over years. But you saw something in them that was there, and you wanted it to come out. Sometimes it came out, sometimes it didn't. But I've seen both sides. So in his mind, which I would feel the same way too, but it would make me go in the lab and work even harder, which I'm sure he has been. But he's on the defensive right now. That's what he's complete. His answer shows me that he's on the defensive. He's trying to guard himself.
And I get it. You can't do that. This is your 2nd year in the league. I don't think that you have the right to be defensive. Because I think he would be the first person to tell you that those outings weren't good enough. And I think that right now he has the perfect opportunity to redeem himself. And he can say all of these things, and maybe they don't come to fruition on the field, but at least help yourself. Do everything that you can to help yourself and to prove to people, like, this is the work that I've been putting in. This is so important to me. But let's continue the conversation coming up next. We'll get right to your phones on this coming up next. Plus, D-Mase says that Malik Willis is on the defense. Is that fair? Does he have the right to be? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline Willy, D-Mase 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the 2nd level.
On Everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Keep listening to 102.5 The Game for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dave Matthews Band at Bridgestone Arena, Friday, May 26th, courtesy of Green Trees Company Dispensary. Listen for your cue to text to win DMB tickets from The Game and our friends at Green Trees Company Dispensary. Social Furniture's huge Memorial Day sale is now underway. You'll find your dream furniture on sale now at up to 70% off. Sectionals start at $7.99. Sofas from $4.99. Name brand queen mattresses start at $2.99. Complete bedroom sets from $11.99. Buy now and pay later with special financing for up to 48 months. Enjoy hassle-free same-day delivery and setup. Hurry in. Once these deals are gone, they're gone. Shop Social Furniture because of the way you are treated.
CMA Fest is happening in downtown Nashville, June 8th through 11th, with dozens of performances by many of today's hottest black country artists, including K. Michelle, Chapel Hart, the TSU Aristocrat Bands, Breland, and many more. Proceeds benefit the CMA Foundation and music education programs. Visit CMAFest.com for details.
Family Leisure's 31st Memorial Day sale.
DIY pools start at just $19.99. 24-foot pools are only $29.99 installed. 6 months, same as cash.
Great prices on spas and hot tubs. The Cypress Spa by Strong is only $29.99.
I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has hundreds of sets on sale.
The Sabre Infrared Grill starts at only $11.99. Complete Bull Grill Island start at only $39.99. Installed with a Sabre grill head. Tanning beds, pool tables, massage chairs on sale now.
Family Leisure, 2 huge locations, Antioch and Franklin.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
What's your reaction when you realize there'll be a little more competition in the quarterback room this year?
I mean, is it? You know, it's the same amount of competition. You're competing against yourself every day. You don't go competing against guys. You don't go looking over your shoulder. You just try to get better, bro.
That was Malik Willis at OTAs. He was asked, what have you been doing in the offseason? He said, it's been a long time since the end of the last season. I did a lot of stuff. Come on, Malik. Come on. This is your opportunity. Show me that you want it. Be eager to tell us. This is everything that I've done. I know last year wasn't the best, showing of my abilities, but I cannot wait to show everybody what I've been working on, the improvements that I've made. Give me a little something. The people have some thoughts, though, D-Mase. So before we get to the phones, do you have a thought?
Let's go to the phones.
Let's get to the phones. Our phone lines are driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. Chris is on the line. What's up, Chris?
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Good.
All right. Well, I'm wondering if the new NFL rule that allows you to keep an emergency quarterback in case the first two go down allows him to be used at other positions.
Thanks for your call, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. We've heard, use Malik as a wide receiver.
Yeah,
no.
you can't.
I don't know if Chris knows about the new rule that they're going to have.
Yeah, he's not a wide receiver. He's not
a tight end. He's not a running back.
Yeah, you see they try to do that with Tim Tebow. It didn't work. You see, either Tim was going to play quarterback or not. And, he had a stint at quarterback. He couldn't play any other position. It's easy for someone to say, oh, just throw him at that position, or just throw him at that position, or a quarterback that has never played anything goes, oh, just throw him out because he got to speak. Just throw him out there. No, it's different. It's a lot different.
It's the same thing with Caleb Farley. Last year, I think a lot of people were saying, well, just move him to safety.
Yeah. Well,
no.
that's
a little bit more translatable.
Yeah, but throwing a quarterback at tight end or at running back or receiver, nah.
If you're moving the quarterback that you drafted in the 3rd round, which I get it's not the 1st round, but still, it's a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
The quarterback that you drafted in the 3rd round, if you're moving him to running back, you've already made up your mind about him.
Yeah.
That you don't think that he is going to be a quarterback in this league.
Exactly.
So why hold on to it?
There's no need for you to do that. So they're not going to make him switch positions. He's going to either be on this team as a quarterback or not.
And it's up to him.
Yeah.
It is up to him. And that's what I wanted to hear from Malik Willis. And I know, like, right now is talking season, but that's all we got. Maybe, just maybe, Malik makes leaps and strides this season. Where I'm at right now in my evaluation of Malik, from what I have seen, I'm not going to put my money on that, but maybe, just maybe, and then we will look like fools for picking apart his words in OTAs. But I wanted him so badly to show the enthusiasm and how eager he is to carve out a role on this roster. It's not going to be given to him, and now it's even more difficult for him. And that was the other part of that clip. He was asked about what Will Levis means to him now. Nick, if we can get that.
I mean, is it? You know, it's the same amount of competition. You competing against yourself every day. You don't go competing against guys. You don't go looking over your shoulder. You just try to get better, bro.
And I understand. But let's be realistic. The addition of another quarterback in this room does change things.
Yeah, it does, but he's coming from the standpoint of you know, a player, a guy in that room, where listen, I know that there's competition. I'm not going to allow anyone outside of this building, in this room, make it become a unhealthy competition where it's me versus you. No, it's not me versus you. I understand the whole pecking order, but it's not me versus you. If I am getting better, then, you know, I'm going to have to I'm going to force them to make a decision. You know, if they show and I'm talking specifically with Malik Willis, if Malik Willis shows that he has gotten a lot better from last year, he still may not beat out Will Levis, but it puts his standing with the team a lot better.
Yeah.
Put his footing a lot better, because now the team looks at it as, especially with the new rule, as, hey, we may need to keep this guy, because in our thinking, Will Levis eventually is going to be, if everything works out the way we want it to work out, whether it be this year or next year, Will Levis will be our starter. Ryan Tannehill will not be a backup here with us. He's going to go somewhere else and possibly get a starting job.
Yeah.
We're going to need a backup. So if he's showing that he's getting better, then why not keep him? Why not keep him on the roster? Because eventually we're going to need a backup player, and why not keep this guy at this salary if he's showing that he's getting better, knowing that Will Levis is our quarterback because he's shown that he's our starter now. Why not keep this young guy? He's showing that he's getting better. He's picking up on offense. We can see that he's learning, and we can see by on the field, practice, preseason, that he's getting it. Why not keep him at a low price?
And that's with a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
If he has elevated to that point where it's like, okay, yeah, we think that this is going in the right direction. But I just feel like a quarterback, you have to prove that you can be a quarterback in this league on the field. And also a whole lot of quarterbacking comes off the field and in front of the cameras. And we always poke fun at Ryan Tannehill, or really any other quarterback in the league, with how little we really get from some of these quarterbacks. And it's coach speak, and it's everything's for the team. And they say the right things.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can poke fun of Ryan Tannehill. We can poke holes in Ryan Tannehill's play all we really want. But, you know, Ryan Tannehill is a very polished and professional quarterback in front of the cameras, as is, I would say, probably a whole majority, if not all, of the starting quarterbacks in this league. I think that's another thing that Malik Willis needs to work on. It's not just about the play; it's about the presence. I didn't feel a quarterback presence. Right?
Yeah.
I just want him to just.
I
show
want him
us.
to get the play right before he get the
Breakthrough.
presence right. Listen, he will, once he sort of, again, it goes back to him being a young player. He's guarded because of all these bad things that he's hearing about himself. And maybe in his mind, he thinks it's not fair because look at the situation I was thrown into. Look, this and he's going down a list of all these things.
And he was dealt a bad hand.
Exactly. So now he's built this wall of, you know, I'm not saying much. I'm guarded. But eventually he's going to have to open up. He's going to have to let that go. Because if he doesn't, he's not going to be able to prosper in this league. And I say this because I can say this about him because I went through the exact same thing. Being on the verge of being cut. People thinking, oh, you're not good enough to be one of our wide receivers. So much so that I became like him, guarded. I became resentful and didn't, my demeanor was visible. It was like I was unhappy because I allowed what was coming out, the coaches were saying, and potential of getting traded and all this other stuff, affect who I was as a person on the field and as a player. So much so that I remember Chris Sanders pulling me to the side. I think we were in a locker room somewhere, or we were just talking probably away from the football building. And he said, don't allow them to steal your joy. Don't allow them to steal, because when they steal your joy, it's over. Don't, forget what they're saying. Just go out there and have fun. Play. And he was right. Because I used to watch Chris all the time, and as much as they got on Chris, he still walked into that building with a smile on his face, ready to do whatever, happy, but he knew in the back of his mind, like, man, they're trying to get me out of here. They're doing all this other stuff. I'm not a part of the game plan and all this other stuff. So he was dealing with a lot. And you're talking about a guy that had already proven it, that he can play in his league. So for whatever reason, he started falling further and further down the depth chart. But one thing I saw from him is he would walk into that building every day with a smile on his face, chipper, ready to go out to practice and just compete. And I was the opposite, because I let that fester and I was just angry and mad. And he was like, dude, don't let what these coaches and what everybody else doing dictate how you go out there on the field. Don't let them steal your joy. They don't care. They're stealing and go about their business. And you'll be the one left sitting there. And he was absolutely right. Damn it, Malik, don't let them people over there steal your joy. Don't let us steal your joy. And I'm talking about including me with what I said. Don't let me kill your joy. Go out there, ball out, be you. Learn. Get better. Be you. Either it's going to work or it's not. But don't allow what is being said from anybody, even the coaches, make you put up a guard. Because once you put up that guard, you're not going to be able to be the player that you're capable of being.
Chris Sanders hasn't changed a lick, has he?
No, he hasn't.
I can totally hear him saying that. But it's the truth. Go in, do the work, and prove it on the field. Be caller 3 right now to win a pair of tickets to see Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds and Garbage at First Bank Amphitheater on June 25th. Our phone number is 615-737-1025. Caller 3 to go see Noel Gallagher. Good luck with that. But coming up next, how does the Titans offseason rank amongst the rest of the NFL? We'll get into that. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want to jump into the mind of a 15-year NFL vet? Well, here's your chance. D-Mase. It's Ask D-Mase.
Come on, bring them on.
Ask questions on football and life to Derek Mason every Friday at 12:30 on Ask D-Mase.
Don't mess with her. The skilled guy. Money reigns supreme.
On Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Start your savings journey now. A strong savings strategy creates financial stability, leading to more opportunity for you and the people who count on you. At F&M Bank, our savings accounts help you save easily, plan for expenses, and prepare for whatever comes your way. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. Come see us at one of our branches or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen. There are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It's almost time for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura and benefiting our friends at Souls for Souls. Join us on June 7th at the President's Reserve at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put a team together to play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs like me. It's going to be awesome and for a great cause, and you'll have a great chance to win great prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or simply donate at thegamenashville.com/golf.
You could throw your flip-flop at a bug.
Ew, a bug, get it.
But the chances of actually hitting it
Over there.
are statistically
It's still alive.
unlikely. Good thing nature's got your back. Stem bug killers combine powerful active ingredients found in plants, like lemongrass and geraniol, and scientifically engineer them into effective bug-fighting formulas, safe for use as directed around people, pets, and throughout the home. Stem, rooted in nature, optimized by science.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
Titans have actually made a move, finalizing a one-year deal.
Strong-willed opinions.
No, I disagree. No, I totally disagree with that.
And sometimes, some old man takes...
Don't want those cooked carrots that are 5 days old.
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robbie and Rex Road. Mornings from 6 to 9. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I understand where Bill was coming from when he put his list together. I think it's because, when the Titans offseason turns into a conversation about the viability of Ryan Tannehill, the viability of Derrick Henry, those are two foundational building blocks, and you're like, all right, well, if they're willing to move on from these players, it feels like that's a rebuild, right? I mean, who knows if it's a full-blown multi-year rebuild, who knows if it's a micro rebuild. That all depends on either who you have waiting in the wings or who you have available to take. And then when neither of those players moves on, of course, it leads you to believe, well, okay, if these were players who are available, how much confidence is there in them, and where does that leave Tennessee? Are they in limbo? So I think a lot of people look at Tennessee and think, okay, it's trending downward because they're trying to shift gears here, and they were not able to do it with two pretty weighty players when it comes to what their deals are. I mean, obviously, we're looking at the last year, I think, for both of these guys here in Tennessee, but...
That was Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports on Robbie and Rex Road this morning. His reaction to Bill Barnwell's ranking of the 32 best and worst off seasons in the NFL. And he has the Tennessee Titans ranked, drumroll please, number 32.
Ooh.
The worst offseason in the NFL. Bill Barnwell says, they did the right things in moving on from expensive injured players. Taylor Lewan, Bud Dupree, Robert Woods. Cut the fat and replace it with pieces that might not be the sexiest names out there. Might not be on the SportsCenter marquee, but guys that can come in at a low price and ideally get the job done. Azeez Al-Shaair, Arden Key, Daniel Brunskill, so on and so forth. So that was the good thing. But Bill Barnwell writes, I'm not sure whether the Tennessee Titans are rebuilding, but the two moves hanging over the organization's head all offseason still haven't been resolved, as Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry are still on the roster. Now, look, I don't think the Titans had the squeakiest, cleanest offseason in the NFL by any means, but worst in the league, and because of Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry still being Tennessee Titans.
Well, I mean, I can't. How do you sort of, on one hand, you say, well, it was, the Titans, the things that they did in the offseason, getting rid of certain players, obviously for reasons we understand, injury history. So whether you're talking Taylor Lewan, Robert Woods, Bud Dupree, Zach Cunningham, or you didn't sign back some of these guys, David Long Jr., because of soft tissue injuries. You don't want to have to continue to deal with it. So, yes, on one hand, you said that was good that they trimmed all of that away, all of the sort of, weight that was keeping them down, contracts that were there, but players that weren't performing up to the standards of their contract. So you said it was good that they got rid of them, but then you said it's bad because what? They didn't, replace them with top-tier players or what they did in the draft. If you want to say they had a bad offseason, okay, but I can't sit here and say that because I don't know what the other 31 teams did, or at least I don't know what the other 29 teams did. Obviously, we know some of what Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and Houston has done within our division, but we don't know what all these other teams have done. So I can't sit here and say, well, they had the worst offseason. Now, if he's just looking at it based upon, personnel and guys they signed and guys they didn't sign,
right,
I still don't believe they're the worst because they got some really good players via free agency. They got players that they feel can help them via free agency. So you look at a guy like, Arden Key. He was a good player in Jacksonville.
Solid player. Always available.
Exactly.
Played 17
always
games
available.
Last year.
Al Shair, he was a good player with San Francisco. Brunskill, good player with San Francisco. Not a great player, solid player. You look at the left tackle that they got. He was a former first-round draft pick. Was he a bust? No. Was he a bad player? No. He was a solid player but wasn't a starter. So are you basing it upon guys that they're bringing in that were not starters? Or are you basing it upon their play and what are you basing it on? Or are you just solely saying because of the draft and they didn't draft a receiver and they chose to go with the running back in the 3rd round and they waited until the 6th or 7th round to get a wide receiver? Is that how you are basing your ranking on? Because I'm sure there are a lot of other teams out there that you look at their draft and you're like, man, why did they, like the Detroit Lions, why did they draft a running back in the 1st round?
A running back and an inside linebacker.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I think we all know that the Titans offseason, it didn't make headlines.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that. But this list doesn't mean anything to me for a few reasons. One, we're still in the offseason.
Exactly.
Two, I'll let this draft class tell me what they should be ranked. Maybe, Peter Skoronski isn't Bryce Young, but I will let this draft class tell me what it's going to be. And 3, 2022 offseason rankings. Number 1 team in the offseason in 2022. You want to take a guess?
I don't know.
The Denver Broncos.
Wah, wah, wah.
Number 32, the Seattle Seahawks, and they were a playoff team.
Exactly.
Weird things happen in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Stillman & Company's up next.